Right, folks, welcome to this week's Brew Time. Before we start, a couple of quick bits of admin. If you check out, look, these are the new Brew Time t-shirts. If you like one, head to TeapotOne.com and check out the shop. Secondly, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, drop me a line, info@TeapotOne, and we'll get things moving. Hope to hear from you soon. Let's crack on with the show.
Actually, you know what? It worked before this.
Was it not? Oh, bloody hell. Right. Yeah. We'll do that again then.
Yeah, ready?
Yep.
Right. 1, 2, 3. I like that.
And we're in the room. Right, are you okay
cool.
to crack on with it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, lovely job. You know the normal format. We this is just us having a chat. People have given us questions and we'll run through them and see where it takes us.
Yep. That's cool.
Park
yeah,
up.
All good.
If you don't want to answer anything, just say you don't, and that's fine. It's no problem. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Right, we'll crack on. Folks, welcome to Brew Time episode, I think it's 27. Nathan Millward. How you doing?
Who's it? I'm all right. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good,
God,
man.
I should have been on in May, shouldn't I, or April, but...
it was literally right at the start of lockdown, wasn't it?
Lockdown.
Yeah,
it was.
Jeez.
30 weeks ago, I think Facebook said, or something like that.
Is that 30 weeks? Man, it's just...
23.
Yeah, well, let's not get depressed talking about all that malarkey. And what are you drinking? I'm on coffee.
Well, if we're promoting mugs,
yeah.
I'm drinking me Dorothy's Speed Shop mug.
Have you got a Speed Shop jumper on as well? Because I've got the new Brew Time t-shirts. Look.
Oh, we're talking merchandise now.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Getting my pants in a minute.
That's later. That's if we were drinking.
Later. Yeah.
What's the bike in the background? That's not Dorothy.
That's Dorothy. Yeah, Dorothy's there. Dorothy's. And there's two more posties at camera just off the side.
Awesome. So that is the infamous Dorothy which did the trip with you.
A while back, yeah. So she's it's just I'm in like an outbuilding that's doubling up as a garage. That's the Honda CT 110 that in another life I rode back from Australia on, and then
I love the way I get people like you on here, people that have done these amazing trips, and they literally sum up years worth of adventure in. Yeah, I went from here to there. Right. For any people that have never heard of you, Nathan Millward, over to you. Who are you? Where'd you come from? What did you do? Or do you do?
I got a D in General Studies, A-levels. I actually got an N in General Studies.
Did you? Good effort.
And a D in A-levels. I wasted my A-level years. And then I did a ski season. I skied into a tree and broke my femur, and that put me on a course of education. And I did a uni degree and then a master's. And then trying to get into car journalism, but ended up in Australia. And a long story short, I rode home from Australia when the visa ran out. And I rode home with 2 days of planning on a 105cc Australian postal bike with funded it by credit cards and sheer desperation. So it was born out of despair in search of the end of the road.
Yeah.
So it was born out of despair, desperation, desire to go on an adventure with sort of and cut everything loose, and it was kind of a ragtag type of adventure. So obviously no planning. When I say no planning, I'd actually looked at riding to Australia, so I'd done enough groundwork to know I'd read the handbook, Chris got the Bible, and I'd been on a Riders Unlimited, so I knew visa stipulations and limitations, and I kind of knew the blueprint of the trip. I got that fermenting in my mind probably for about 9 months. So not actually, never thinking I'd do it, but thinking, maybe one day I will. And then all of a sudden, when I had to leave Australia at the end of the month because I couldn't get another extension on my visa, it was like, right. It was actually the lady I was with at the time said, well, maybe you should do that trip. If you don't do it now, then you'll never do it. And she was obviously right, because I would have flown him to England, and then I don't know what I would have done, really. gone back to Centre Parks, working in the supermarket or something. So I did that trip. So I went to see immigration on the Thursday, and I left on the Sunday. And I'd already got the postie bike just to get around Sydney, and I bought it. I was working cashing down in a cafe in Sydney in the CBD, and I just bought it. I think $1,200 on eBay. I got that bike, and I knew that bike could do it from having talked to a good friend when I worked on a car magazine in Australia. There was a chap called Thomas Walecki, who was a very creative photographer and also crazed motorcycling lunatic who told me this amazing adventure of the time he rode around Australia on an Ozzy post bike, on the fabled CT110, and how the bike had survived the journey and lived up. It had been ridden with no oil in it, and it had just survived. And ironically, he after that trip sold that bike. I think he needed the finances, so he sold the bike. He was in his 20s when he did that. He sold the bike, and then about 10 years later really reminisced about the journey in the bike, wished he got the bike. Then he knew a policeman friend who was able to look up the registration on that bike and able to give him the details of it, the address of where it was, who now owned it. So he went along and stole it. I didn't steal it. He didn't rob him. No, he just rang him up and said, "That's the bike that I did this trip on. Could I buy it back?"
Yeah.
And so 10 years later, he was reunited with this bike that took him around the train. And so it was from him telling me that story that I knew the CT110 would be up to a world trip. As you know, like any bike will do it, and each bike has got its strengths and its weaknesses.
Absolutely,
The negative of a post bike is its speed. It's 7 brake horsepower, so it'll sit at sort of 37 to 38 miles per hour, hit 45 if you're really running late, and that's the downside of it. But then at the same time, it's cheap to run, easy to get tyres for, light enough to ship relatively cost effectively. Your carnator passage is cheap because the cost of the bike is cheap. And then just getting tyres in locations was easy. I mean, I imagine you getting tyres for a GSX-R in the backwaters of Indonesia is slightly problematic. You've got a 17-inch wheel that's on the same as every scooter they ride in Indonesia. You get a tyre fit for like £2 £3. So whilst in one hand it was the wrong bike, it meant on the other hand it was the right bike in so many ways and made it a cost-effective. I mean, it still costs what? 9,000, I would have said, back in 2009. So factor in inflation, 13,000 maybe.
To do your whole trip?
To buy the bike, carnet, shipping, China entry for 7 days, and then daily living. I wasn't a luxurious man like you, Bruce. I didn't stay in hotels and things like that. I just slept. You lived on
cheeseburgers, didn't you? One cheeseburger a day or something. You were saying
that was in America, obviously. In Indonesia, things was. But no, I kept my costs low just by just eating street food, obviously, which is new. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it tastes pretty good. And then just camping. I didn't start I was a very nervous traveller to start with. So across Australia, whilst I couldn't camp wild, I was very desperate to find places as sanctuary campgrounds I felt secure and safe across Australia. I didn't have long to get Australia to get out because the first challenge was getting from Sydney to Darwin in 2 weeks, which to get to Darwin before the visa expired to get the bike on a boat to East Timor. Yeah. So that was a whirlwind. Set off Sunday and ride 500 kilometres a day for the next 14 days. Yeah. And the first bike packed up 3 days in the bottom end on it. So that's right, it was a slightly bad start to things, but I dropped it in for Dorothy to bike shop in Brisbane, and that carried me all the way. And then into Indonesia again. I was nervous in Indonesia. I'd never travelled Asia before. I'd never backpacked. I'd never done like that sort. I'd done ski season. I worked in Greece as a rep one summer, but that doesn't really prepare you for going through East Timor.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a difference from the island hopping, isn't it?
Yeah, different culture shock. So I was kind of cowardly, I guess, or nervous. So certainly out of there. So it took me till midway through Indonesia till I started to think, oh wow, okay, I've got a tent. There's a field over there. I'll put my tent in a field over there. Yeah. And then from that day on, obviously, my costs came down. And it's a balancing act. Say you're in Bangkok, you get you could get a dorm room or a single room for sort of £3 or £4 back then, in a pretty reasonable place. So what you won't wild camp then, but if you were in Bangkok waiting for a visa, you'd spend £4 on your accommodation, £2 on your food, so you'd lived on £6.
Yep.
So my daily budget was, say, a tenner, and then that is bulked up by your big costs, as you know, your flight shipping. Over Nepal, over Burma back, because you couldn't transit Burma back then. Over Burma, it was probably $300 or $400. China, I think, was $2,000 to get through China because of the guiding fee involved. And car the passage was $1,000 even on that cheap bike. So all those big fixed costs accounted for maybe 2/3 of the £9,000. It's probably a bit more than 9, to be honest. And then the rest is just the actual meat and potatoes of the trip. And if you could cut out all the big logistical issues, the bureaucracy, the visas, etc., you'd better go out world on not a lot of money.
Yeah. It definitely is possible, isn't it? I did a vid on how much does it cost to travel around the world, and it's a hard thing to say because some people might want to do the hotel option, other people might be happy just literally camping on the ground with nothing option. It's those two extremes, isn't it? And it is possible to do it on a really, really tight, small budget.
I wouldn't recommend it particularly, but then everyone's situation, circumstances, and reasons are different. I didn't really care where I slept as long as I slept.
Yeah.
I didn't really care what I ate as long as I ate.
Yeah.
So and equally, if you're trying to find a nice hotel somewhere, you're going to be venturing off your natural route, find a nice hotel. Whereas if you're happy with anything, then you'll ride that beautiful road, and then at the end of the road, put your tent up in a field and eat some noodles for breakfast, and then carry on. Yeah. As if you've got to deviate to find this nice hotel with a swimming pool, then you might spend your entire trip around the world looking for hotels with swimming pools. And you might as well, I don't know. Each to the road.
Each to their own, so, definitely.
I didn't have a lot of money, so I was doing this on borrowed money, effectively. When I set off, I got a couple of $1,000s borrowed. But ultimately, the more I spent, the longer I was on the road, the bigger the debt at the end. Yeah. So that ensured that I did it as cheap as possible. And equally, I have to thank my parents because I ran out of money at one point, and they were there to lend me some money to help me finish the trip. So I'm privileged in that regard. And let me not pretend that it was an entirely self-funded trip. It was Mum, run out of money. Can we go down to Western Union and spare me some cost? I
had to make that call as well.
Yeah, we're all going to do it. We all like to think with big, bold adventures, but we still cry home to Mummy and Daddy when we...
Absolutely.
And that's a fortunate thing. Is world travel a middle class or an affluent working class pastime? I think generally it is, because to set off with absolutely no financial backing, parents who can't bail you out, or friends or whatever, then I think you're heading for potential disaster. I got the comfort that my parents, my dad worked as an engineer at mines, and my mum were a doctor's receptionist, so we're not talking, highly affluent careers, but they'd saved and they'd put a secure backdrop to my life, and that's what allowed me to get into biking. And equally, when one day I turned around and said I'm riding over to England, they could say, well, if you need anything, let us know. So when I needed money to help me get through China, they said, sure. But if they said we've got no money on your own, we'd still be in China. Yeah,
definitely.
So you generally, these big trips do come out of a certain comfort blanket, which I think is often undisclosed. So thanks, Mum and Dad, basically.
So your trip
about one day.
Your trip then, summing it up, the first bit back to the UK, because obviously there's more after that, but the first bit back to the UK, how long was that then? How long were you on the road for to do that?
9 months from setting off to.
So what's the statistics? 9 months, how many miles, how many countries?
Well, we ought to get top trumps cards, didn't we, for us all?
No. I don't mean it like that.
No, I know, but 23,000 miles it turned out to be.
Yeah.
And 18 countries in the end.
And
I did.
So go on.
I did think about, you think, should I go via Luxembourg and bloody Holland to get to 20? Because then 20 sounds better than 18. I just want to go home. So I straight line it. No, the count didn't come into it very much towards the end. I just wanted to get home. So that was it. I mean, it was a baptism of fire. I enjoyed some of it. Some of it was loathsome. When you just want to go home and you're middle of India, say, and you think, are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course you can. Say what you like.
Oh, I don't want to swear now. That's you think.
I'll be very disappointed in you if you do, Nathan. But yeah, you can swear.
No, I don't want to. Somebody might in-laws might be watching it.
All right.
I like to. I'm not swearing. So to think you're in India and you've done 40,000. What does that mean? 40,000 kilometres. You've been up there for 5 months. And you think I've still got far to go again.
Yeah.
But I'm really tired now. I'm really bored.
Yeah.
Because that's that is an emotion that comes into these world trips. Boredom.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah, you do start thinking that I can't be bothered today. I can't be arsed. I want to be home. And then I remember on mine, you have to check yourself sometimes and go, I'm living a dream. I'm riding a bike around the world. Just get over it. But you do have downtime. I
guess you're living the dream, but I don't think you are living the dream, are you? You kind of are, but you kind of not. I'm not sure. People want to believe it's a dream, but at the end of the day, you just sat on a cold, wet motorcycle in a foreign country in Hungary.
The day I
sleep in an edge bottom that night.
The day I pooed myself in my leathers and at the same time vomited into my helmet whilst riding the bike. That day, I've got to admit, I did think to myself, I've had better days in my life.
Was that in London?
It's just yesterday on the way back from Devon. Yeah. No, that was...
that's sick, man. I went deeper than I thought.
Well, I caught dengue fever, so but I didn't know about it at the time. And I just felt like death on earth. I stayed in a hostel for about 3 days because I couldn't get away from the bathroom. And then I had to get the ferry, to do the island hopping down through the bottom of Indonesia to get to Timor. And I was just like, I've got to go now if I'm going to get this ferry. So I just jumped on the bike and went for it. And later on in that day, it was one of them where I was thinking, I don't feel well. And the next thing, I thought I was going to throw up. And in trying to stop myself from throwing up, I sort of...
Sharted.
Yeah, I sharted. And then literally as that happened, it came out into my helmet. And I was just like, this is...
Poor other passengers on that ferry.
Oh, mate.
In a way, this is a lesson for other people watching to learn. Don't go around the world in one-piece leathers. Because if you,
two-piece. I wasn't stupid. Two-piece.
Oh, was it two-piece? So right. Practical element to it.
You've got to be practical about these things. I think Jacques did it in one piece, didn't he? I think Jacques...
He did, yeah. But he's more hardcore than us. So.
Yeah, he is. He did, 5 years? 5 years, I think.
The Arctic.
He's mental.
Yeah, he's North Pole.
I'm trying to get him on here. I'm really trying to get him on here. And he said he will, but then he's just so busy at the moment because he's sort of in the last stages, isn't he, of building this massive R1.
Yeah, if anybody's not seen it, what he's doing, Google it. Jacques, S-J-A-A-K.
Yeah.
It is K, not C, isn't it?
It's either C or K. Lucassen,
L-U-C-A-S-S-E-N. He's a hardcore. He makes us look like little pansies, to be honest.
He's the original, isn't he? He is the original.
Yeah.
He rode a Fireblade in the 90s, literally around the world. I mean, he went right round Africa. He's been everywhere. I think it's 450,000. Yeah, 450,000 kilometres. I think he's done on that bike. It might have even crossed the 500,000 kilometres. He did it twice,
didn't he? He had the Fireblade and then the R1, and then it was
the R1.
He's done two. The
R1 was the big one. Yeah. Crazy.
He would be a good one to get.
I'm trying. I am trying. And the last time I spoke with him, he was up for coming on, but then I think he's now adapting his R1 and he's going to ride the R1 up to the North Pole around the Arctic, which he's already been up there once, hasn't he? But he had to abort it because the fuel froze and there was all sorts of issues. So he's come back, rethought about it. The engineers have put all their heads together and they're now custom building this massive R1. And I think is he taking the sledge with him as well? He was
I think
towing
the
a sledge.
hampered him last time.
Yeah.
I think that's what the problem is. Too heavy. I think last time. But I think what you need to do is just send him a crate of beer. If you send him a crate of beer and say we'll drink it on this night, I think he'll be up for it. I would ply him with alcohol.
Definitely, he does like a beer.
Does like a beer. He's good. If he pulls that trip off, it'll be something
phenomenal.
Else. I think
Just phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah. If anyone will, it'll be him. Right. Okay, the way the format of the podcast normally goes is people submit questions and we chat about the questions, answer them. It generally takes us down the old rabbit warren and we'll go from there. How's that? You fancy that?
I was just checking it's recorded. Yeah, you go for it.
Right, cool. Okay then, folks. First off, we'll go to Patreon as usual. So that's patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, David Hemmings. Well, I think we've pretty much covered this. What motivated you to do this trip and how did you finance it?
Credit cards. And abject failure was the main thing.
They need to get home.
No, it was. I needed to vanish. But I needed to vanish from myself. I was in a very confusing, confronting place of great despair because essentially I'd gone back to Australia to make a relationship work and was too weak a man to make that happen. Yeah, don't read about it in the book. And so
I have them.
So it was a challenge I needed. I think a very clear challenge because I think. Life's quite complicated, isn't it? But when you're on a motorbike, it's actually quite simple because you're doing a very simple task.
Yeah.
And so you're consumed by a very simple task, which for somebody who's quite cloudy-minded, and kind of doubtful and self-questioning, day-to-day life can be a little bit frustrating. But when you're on the road, it's like I've just got to keep riding. Yeah. So it's quite a good antidote to date. So that's what I guess that's why I did it, and I did it, and I enjoyed the challenge. And actually, I kind of wanted. Whenever it got too easy, I think I'm a good self-sabotager, so I'd make it more difficult by losing things. Or I don't know. Just I can't remember. It's too long ago now. But if it got too easy, I'd want to make it harder. If I wasn't suffering, I wasn't having fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How did you? Because a lot of people, I think. Probably most people would think being on a motorcycle for a long period of time is quite cathartic because you have all that time to think about stuff. But that can also work against you, can't it? Because you've almost got too much time and there's nothing else to focus on. So sometimes you have to just sort of forget about that side of life and just concentrate on the journey, don't you? That's how I found it, because sometimes when you're alone with your own thoughts on a big trip, you can go into stuff way too deeply, and sometimes you just need to, right, let's forget about that and just focus on what are we doing here? What's the journey?
I mean, I love a bit of navel gazing, so I just soaked it up.
Yeah.
I just soaked it up. No, I mean, I actually quite like that all that time process. Because to me, essentially, for me, the nuts and bolts of it is I'd gone back to London and then got a dream job on Auto Express as a car journalist, and then missed somebody in Australia, so just quit that job one day. I mean, I only started it a month prior, going back with no visa, working at a cafe making sandwiches to try and make this relationship work, but knowing I wouldn't be able to because she always said I was weak and indecisive. Her words cut deep for many years. I'm over them now, but at the time they were cutting words, and I can't remember where I was going. So for me, there was a lot of debris to clear, mentally, and so I quite enjoyed that. I did actually quite enjoy the helmet time. Not always enjoyed it, but found it beneficial. I mean, it was a luxury, wasn't it? I've gone through a process in your life that was a bit confusing, which many of us do. But then me having the luxury to then go, well, I'm on a motorbike and I can clear it all out and make sense of it. So it was quite a luxury in that way. And then obviously, I suppose it's not like you've got all day to just think about yourself. You've got a lot of things to deal with as you're going. You spend like 3 hours of your day wondering when you're going to stop for fuel, stuff like that. So or I don't know. The road takes up your time.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
That's the intricacies, and seeing people and thinking about how it all fits together and which island you're on now and how that works. I mean, you've got lots to process. I think.
Definitely.
I mean, I think it helps if you're doing a trip like that to be a curious person. I'm quite curious about the people and the place, so I'd write it. I was just thinking about how does this all work? Why are they doing that? Or why do they live like that? What is this island? Why did he say that? Why did he act like that? Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it quite a lot. I think if you're one of those people who just ride through everything and don't really take no notice, and it could maybe become. I said boring earlier, but I suppose actually I didn't find it overly boring because I was always trying to work something out.
Yeah.
I think it certainly helps to be curious. And you do see travellers who've got no interest at all in what's happening around them. Yeah. And I think, God, that must be tedious. Then you are just consumed by yourself. But I can't remember what your original question was. But
it's just like a lot. Like I was saying, a lot of people think it must be great to have all that time to sit and ride a bike and think about stuff. And I think traditionally maybe a lot of people think people who go on big adventures like this are maybe a little bit lost in life and not quite sure about what they're doing and where they're going, and having that luxury of time and solitude to think about all this sort of stuff. And my perspective on that is, yeah, it's brilliant, it is awesome to have that time to do it, but sometimes I found myself just thinking too deep about a lot of stuff. And I would literally focus on the actual journey in front of me. It's like, where am I going today? How much fuel have I got? Where am I going to sleep tonight? Where's my next transit point or border point? And sometimes for me it was nice just to switch off from the sort of what's the word? Self-respect? No, not self-respective. When you're looking into yourself, what's the word?
Self-reflection.
Yeah, switch off from that and just focus on like the practicalities of the journey for a little bit. Because sometimes I found myself just getting lost in your own thoughts, and you'd think way too deep about stuff, and it's just like, right, get out of there. I think that's... For me, I had like my mum had passed away, and I still felt really bad about leaving my son's mum when he was young. I felt really guilty about like abandoning my boy almost. Although
you should, you selfish wanker.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always been part of his life, but it was just like I kind of felt like I'd let him down by not being there every day with him, And I think the trip, sometimes I would look way too deep into that on my trip, and you're like, switch off from that.
Yeah, well, I think we're talking extreme, the big trips, but I think even if you go away for a weekend, a day ride. I mean, that's the beauty of motorcycle, isn't it? You actually, even if you've got only the luxury of a day, you could go for a ride. It's still a good way of clearing your head and just getting a new perspective on things and being distracted by people and places and things. So, I mean, I always think you don't have to do a big trip to get that release that you get with a bike trip. I mean, I think I'd say with people who do the iron butts, isn't it? They're doing it for that challenge, so you don't have to say I'm going to ride from here to Australia to feel a sense of challenge. You just have to say, kind of even try and do 1,000 miles a day, or even 200 miles a day, depending on where you're starting from.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of having a pastime. It's called motorcycling a pastime, and it's must be the same when I see cyclists out on the mountain bikes. I think, God, he must have something he's running from or cycling away from.
It's true,
he must be,
true.
Or she must be out on a ride just to clear their heads and think, sod this, I'm off. And I bet as they're pedalling along, they're thinking, what about that? What about that? But what about that? Oh, look at that view, look at that scenery, look at that person. I'm going to stop in a bit. So, I think the beauty of it is you can get that escape. We're self-indulgent. We had the luxury of a long duration trip, but equally, I always say you don't need to go a long way out on a bike or do anything. You just got to
just go whatever,
challenge yourself. Yeah. So, whether it's riding down to Land's End or whatever, we've got a neighbour 2 doors down. He walked up to him because we're about 100 miles from Land's End, and he said, "Oh, I've never been down to Land's End." And I said, "Oh, go down to Land's End?" Because he saw me going down at Himalayan. He's got a Tiger 800. He said, "You're going down to Himalayan and back?" Himalayan. going down to Land's End back in the day. I said, yeah, yes, all right, we'll ride, 8 hours, we'll be there and back. He's like, wow. So you could think that chap there, if he got on his Tiger one morning at 6 a.m. on a nice, bright, sunny day or whatever, and he said, I'm going to get Land's End. Yeah. And he set off to Land's End, he would go through exactly the same ripples and the emotions as we might on a big trip. It's just condensed down into a very manageable one day. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think I guess I've had a few years, 10 years since I lived in London, and certainly the first few years of selling ball, you get sick of middle-aged blokes saying, I wish I had time to do what you did, or I wish I didn't have my kids to look after. You think. Yeah. Why do you have to just go for a ride? You don't have to go around.
It doesn't always have to be the world conquering journey, does it?
No. I mean, whatever you set your mind to. I'm fortunate in that I've got, we've got a child now, and I've got married now, and we've got a mortgage now. Having done the trip, so I guess I could be blasé in that attitude. But having seen both sides, I think you can certainly get as much release or joy from travel motorcycling in a week away or a weekend away. As you can. Maybe you don't get invited on to do a podcast, and nobody will buy your book if you just go out and go down to Land's End for a day. But you still got something out of it. And from small seeds grow, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's kind of part of what the whole TeapotOne brand, if you like, is now. The old tagline, "Live your life." It's like I want.
You should have sell T-shirts.
I should do, shouldn't I? Yeah, maybe I should do a merchandise line. If only I had a merchandise line. That's what I want to try and promote. Is the whatever it is that you want to do, get out there and go for it. Go for it. Just. We've got one chance that we know of. Just get out there and do it. Obviously, you can't abandon financial responsibilities, mortgages, looking after your family and your loved ones and stuff. But if there's an option for you to go away for a week or 2 weeks, or can you go away for a month? Is that possible? Or
you go away for all. I mean, you might be in tier 2, and you might have to be bloody hell.
This is the added challenge nowadays, isn't it? Is we've got all that bollocks to deal with as well. So, but whatever it is, just get out there. If it's possible, make it happen and do it. Just challenge yourself, whatever it is, whatever. I'm thinking about doing this. I don't know where this madness came from, but for some reason, cycling around the UK has popped into my head, and I know that's exactly the look my wife gave me. What?
I've got images you in some lycra outfit.
I'm going to do no training. I'm not wearing lycra, and I'll literally just, when I do it, I'm just going to get on the bike and go, and that's it, and that'll be it. But I don't know why it popped into my head, and I just thought, I can do that. I'm going to do it. And I don't know. It'll happen, I think, but I'm not sure when at the moment. We'll see.
Cycle wanker. That's what you're
I know. Well, because I give them so much abuse. In my vids, I give cyclists so much abuse. But I used to be a cyclist, and I kind of would like to be fit enough to do all that again. So
yeah.
Maybe
and I think in at the deep end is probably a good way of getting fit. If you just go out for an hour a day or something else after. Maybe catch a train down to Land's End.
No,
you got no choice but to ride over, have you?
I'm just going.
The best way of doing it.
I know my wife will probably back me up on this. I'm quite a stubborn character, so when I'm stubborn, but I'm also lazy. But when I decide I'm going to do something, it's happening. But I have to. That switch has to go. When the switch goes, it's happening. But until then, you'd be lucky if I get my ass out of bed. But anyway,
you're a busy man. You're a busy man.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but I think the beauty of my life now is that, well, as long as I've got a laptop and I've got internet access and I've got my cameras, then I can work. Do you know what I mean? So it's whether or not all you folks that follow Teapot, would you be interested in following a fat bloke cycle around the UK for a couple of months, or is it a case of, we want the bikes? Or maybe I can tie in both. Maybe I could cycle from dealerships, pick up bikes, do a bit of a test ride on a bike, get back on a push bike and cycle on. Maybe that's something I could do.
I think there's a lot of crossover there, isn't it? I'm seeing more and more motorcyclist friends on Facebook who are out mountain biking and things like that.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a big crossover. Certainly with e-bikes as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe how you do it. Cheat a bit on an e-bike.
But in my head, I'm thinking, that's cheating. I've got to cycle. I've got to crank it.
Cheating.
Yeah.
A lad went past, I rode the other day on one of those Fantic e-bikes, and he must have been doing he was going faster than a postie bike on his Fantic push bike. I thought, well, that is not a push bike. Not as I know of it.
I know, mate, I know. Yeah, they're going up hills like this, hardly breaking sweat. And you're like, what?
Yeah, that's not right. Well, it does look easier. But no, I think that's it. I think people obviously... motorcycling is what brings everyone together, but the nut and bolts of motorcycling aren't really that. They aren't the glue, are they? It's more the camaraderie and the challenge and the personality of it all. So I don't think people are necessarily following you for the fact you sit on a motorbike. Or following you because you like what you say, where you think, how you approach it. So if you jumped on a cycle and a push bike and approach that in the same way you might a motorcycle trip, I think they would be equally. I mean, you might get called push bike wanker, but
I'll be the first one to say that.
Yeah, we're all allowed to suffer abuse, and anybody who puts anything on YouTube knows, don't you, automatically by putting a video up on YouTube,
God,
a wanker.
Yeah, definitely.
Always called so by those people who haven't got a video upload to the name. So
funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. So my skin is not thick enough, but from much YouTube, I sort of dip my head up every 3 months and I try and say something non-offensive, but you always get the wrath of YouTube.
Certainly do, mate. Yeah. My skin is getting thicker and thicker by the day, but anyway.
Yeah.
Right, back to the next question. We've done one question so far, and we are 53 minutes since we started the camera.
Has it been with that long?
Well, we had about a 15-20 minute sort of admin period at the start.
Minutes. Jeez,
right.
I've got my dinner in here. You got
Matt Rowe Designs. Sorry. My question is, if you guys had the chance to start at the beginning, would you do your round world trip differently, and what would you change? For instance, Bruce, when you got to North America, do you wish you'd vlogged more often so you have a record and could have shared more? Ooh, what would I do different? I think for me personally, if I could have taken longer, I would like to have spent longer exploring where I went, because there's big parts of the world that I basically just sort of blinked and went through, and I definitely didn't explore the people or explore the country as much as they deserve, or I want. So yeah, probably if the time scale was fixed, which it was really effectively, maybe. Well, I couldn't have cut the distance down because I wanted to do the around the world, but definitely if you can, take longer and explore more. For me.
For you, yeah, that's good.
What about you?
Well, to me, I had the perfect trip, and I don't think I could change anything because I survived, and I guess I did it and everything, whether it was kind of the right way, i.e. not having much money. You could say wish I'd have more money, but then I would have had a different experience. So if I'd have had more time, would I have achieved it? Because with all the time and money in the world, I probably lost focus with I didn't have a lot of time, I didn't have a lot of money, or the time was restricted by the amount of money I got or not got.
Yeah.
So I could say, well, I'd like to have lingered longer, but then I wouldn't have had that drive and that energy to get me through the bits where you just need something to push along.
That's very true.
I wouldn't change anything. Actually, I wouldn't change my bike. I wouldn't change my Converse. Maybe I would maybe have had more socks, because I kept, even on the road, I kept losing socks. So I mean, when I was going over the Himalayas, I only had one sock. So I had to alternate between different days, different feet. So I'd rather have more socks or less feet.
Read his book.
So, but would I change it? So I don't think I changed. I don't think I would actually change anything.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I got everything I needed out of it. I guess immediately. I guess all you can say, well, you wish there was a big trophy at the end, and a hot tub of girls and a mansion and all that sort of things that you wish for at the end of a big trip. But that's come later.
Did you not get that?
No. Right. Motorcycle news did not do that grand gesture for me. So I think that's it. I did have another point, but I forgot. What was the question again? Would you change anything?
What? Would you do your own world trip differently, and what would you change? That's basically it.
I mean, obviously, if you're doing it tomorrow, you do it differently, wouldn't you? But a trip is born out of your current circumstances. Yeah. So, tomorrow you do it. I wouldn't do it on a postie. God, if I set off around the world on a postie tomorrow, you'd be mad. Like it would sit on a 37 mile an hour bike to go out the world. You just wouldn't. You'd take something slightly faster. You'd have to take more money. But that's.
But it depends, like you said, though. Depends what you want from the trip, doesn't it? It really does depend.
Yeah,
because if I had the option to go again, would I take a sports bike again? I don't know. I mean, the drive to do it the first time was my bike, and all the people tell me I couldn't do it. So the drive for me was, well, I'm going to bloody do it. So that's done now, and I don't have that to prove to myself anymore. So I could take a GS, it'd be much more comfortable, but I don't know, maybe I would look at doing it like I've spoken about it on here before, do it on an electric bike. That's another challenge.
Sod that.
Do you know, it's just like I would need a challenge. For me, I would need that challenge there, definitely.
Cycle then, because cycling around well.
Well, you know, as long as my wife's putting up with me, I don't think she'd tolerate me buggering off for that length of time again. That's the issue. Yeah. I got away with it once.
The only thing with the electric element is a bike's got a challenge, but then like your super bike, it was kind of the wrong bike, but still it's a bike that you can get fuel. But setting off on a bike that you think, I ain't got a clue how I'm going to get energy to this thing.
Yeah.
I just think, fair play, like for you and Charlie doing that. I think that's good for a TV project to do to make it interesting. I think that's a good hook. But, the effort, the pain in the arse, and I guess maybe I can't remember what point I was making earlier, but about the hotels. Having to change the course of your trip just to power your vehicle.
Yeah.
It would completely ruin the point of the trip. The point of the trip is to go and explore and see what you find and be flexible and have the freedom. To have a motorcycle that stymies your freedom seems... we're on about the Harley Livewire, I rode one. It's fast and it's exciting, but it limits the freedom that a motorcycle should give you because you're having to plan your trip around where you can get quick fuels. It completely ruins the point of a motorcycle. So you've just spent 30 grand to give yourself a headache.
Yeah.
As well as it might ride, it curtails your freedom.
It doesn't make sense at the moment at all.
No,
electric. The cost is too inhibiting.
When it's got charge stations everywhere and it's as convenient as fuel, then yes. But until it's as convenient as fuel, I just think it's a step backwards.
I kind of think I totally agree, but I think it's something that it's coming. It's going to happen, and I think we have to change our mindset to travel. Unfortunately, and it's a case of I don't think initially we're going to have that luxury of turning up at the fuel station, and going from empty to full in the time it takes to top up a tank. I think it's going to be a case of you're going to have to allow for that 40 minutes or that hour. But then logistically, how do you do that when everybody has to do it? You're going to end up with hundreds of charging stations and massive service stations where people effectively have to sit and wait. So I don't know.
I can't see it happening.
I logistically, it doesn't make sense at the moment, and you can't see how it will happen practically. But I think it's something that it's definitely coming, whatever form it takes. I think it's definitely coming. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. It's a sad concept to think about. It has potential. But it's a long way from seeing it as a step forwards. I currently can't see any step forward. If we got to a point where it was interchangeable batteries and things like that, but from what I gather, the battery tech just isn't there for a little compact take out, put a fresh one in type thing.
Same as your power tools, that sort of idea.
But it's from what I gather from Fred Spiven, who designed a Royal Enfield Bullet electric thing, he was quite up to date with battery tech. The problem is the batteries are still big, so you could fill a Tesla floor pan and do an half-ton vehicle with loads and loads of batteries. But there's no way you could come to a dive point and take all the batteries out because the entire body's full of batteries. I mean, until we get to a battery that's like, a mobile phone.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting. I mean, motorcycling is reaching its peak of maturity, isn't it? Riders are getting older. The glory days of motorcycling are upon us in its traditional guise, and whether it'll go out kicking and screaming in terms of petrol engine, and then therefore those people who've ridden petrol engines will stop riding motorcycles because all it'll be is a motorcycle won't be the same once it's replaced by an engine. But whether the electric vehicle or I'm sorry, I'm not making a clear point here, but once electric bikes are better, motorcycles are better, maybe it'll attract a new audience. So maybe electric motorcycles will regenerate motorcycling at the expense of killing off those who are currently enjoying it.
It seems to be.
That's my wonder.
Chatting with those in the sort of EV world, the electric world, it seems to be there is a new market coming in the form of like commuter bikers, because electric bikes, for those who are doing like the 20, 30, 40 mile commute, well, it makes perfect sense, really, and especially if you're doing even less than that. You're in town, you're going from sort of outer London to inner London or outer city to inner city. Electric's the way to go, really, and they're saying there's lots of people coming to them for electric bikes who've never ridden bikes before, and who knows, that may then take them from the electric world at the moment to quite enjoy this, maybe look at getting a petrol bike for going out and exploring on my time off. And there's also seems to be a massive uptake in smaller cc bikes. I've started doing a few tests with the 125cc bikes, and
I've heard.
Yeah, honestly, it's really opened my eyes, because I genuinely didn't think a 20 stone, 6'3" fat lad could have the fun I've had on a little 125cc bike. And I've had a whale of a time. Loved it. Genuinely loved it. So I've got a few things planned actually on some smaller cc bikes. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Well, you should come right down and ride some postie bikes.
I would love to. Definitely. I'll chat to you with you about that, because that would be a great thing to do. Definitely.
Yeah. Right. Well, please do. Go on.
We'll make it happen. Next one. Pete English. Right. Pete has got a bit of a reputation for some deep...
I've heard about Pete. It's infamous, isn't it? Someone tell me about Pete. He's got some oddball questions.
He does.
He likes to make people squirm.
Let's see what his are like here then. Right. Hi, guys. Hope you're both fitting well. Question.
Not really at the minute.
The journey leading up to the border crossing into Pakistan was a very traumatic time for you. How often did you find crossing borders to be easier or harder than expected? Oh, that's a
good question.
It is a good question. It's not his normal one, though. All right, okay.
Oh, I'm disappointed. I thought he was going to ask about hemorrhoids. I'm trying to think border crossings... I mean, you always expect the worst. So I'm trying to think, which ones did I do? East Timor to Indonesia, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Malaysia, straightforward. Into Pakistan, actually, was actually really no problem.
Was that easy enough?
Yeah. No problem. It was actually quite a civilized experience. The border to China, a bit bureaucratic. Obviously, you enter China there. Yeah. Want to check your data cards, your laptop, everything. It's a bit invasive. The two I had problems with were exiting Kazakhstan and entering Ukraine. Leaving Kazakhstan, they said I didn't have the right paperwork, which the guy, when I entered Kazakhstan, said I didn't need. So when you go to leave, they say, "Where's your paperwork?" You say, bloke down there didn't tell me I needed any, so I don't have any. And then they'll do the old shut you in a room trick and tell you you've got to pay them €200.
Yeah.
by that point, if it had been early on the trip, I would have paid it. And I think that the problem is that a lot of people just pay it because it's easier. I mean, instead of the old sweat it out drink, and just kept saying no, and they shuffle you around into that office to talk to him and explain. And I mean, I guess they're doing their job, but at the same time, I think it's a very well rehearsed ruse.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think 4 hours it took me to get through that, and I thought, because you kind of feel very vulnerable,
Massively.
Which you are, because they could pin anything on you or do anything, or you're on your own. Nobody knows really that you're there. You're at the mercy of their warped mentality. So I was glad to get out of there. And then when I entered Ukraine, I think I pissed him off by getting in the wrong queue or something, or I don't know, something went wrong.
Looked the wrong way.
Yeah, he sort of pulled me to one side, and then that took 2 or 3 hours, and he wanted me to literally strip everything off the bike and take the seat off the fuel tank and every compartment, and he was doing it in such an intimidating, inglorious bastards. What's his name at the first? On the first scenes, if you've seen it, he's in the Austrian meadows and is interrogating a family who's hiding Jews, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a bit like that. And he was very sinister, and I thought, God, any minute now he's going to say, "I found these drugs on you," which obviously I wasn't carrying drugs, and that was quite nerve-wracking because again, you think, God, I am at his mercy, and I pissed him off somehow, and he could do anything to do anything. So, and he wants to see inside your wallet, and he's trying to grab your money, but you're I'm not giving you my money, but if you really want it, I guess you've got to take it. I mean,
what can you do if he does take it? There's nothing you can do.
Those two crosses didn't cost me anything, but those two were they were two of the worst. But I'm trying to think the other ones were quite Nepal. I mean, borders are a pain in the arse, but you've just put yourself in the position, remain calm, polite, respectful, follow the flow, because ultimately they're not going to have you stood at that border forever. So as long as you've got the right documentation, eventually you're going to get through. You just got to persevere.
Yeah.
If they tell you you've got to go over there to get some photocopies of your document, then you go over there without any force. You get your photocopies, you go back, and then you just play the game, don't you?
I found that the biggest error I ever made with border crossings was turning up there with not enough water. So if I turned up and I was dehydrated, I now know, and I didn't before my trip, that being dehydrated really affects my mood quite badly, because I become really irritable, very short-tempered, don't see logic, just get the fuck out my way. That's kind of how I get when I need water. So I sort of learnt that I need to have some water with me, and if I can feel myself getting really just like the Incredible Hulk, get out of the way kind of thing, just have some water, take a step back, chill out, and like you said, just take a few deep breaths. It's just the job. They're just dealing with the job. Have a look and see what the locals are doing and follow them. Yeah.
I don't want to do what the locals are doing when I entered Kazakhstan, because I reckon the girl in front had to go in and give him a bloke. I'm glad I didn't have to do that trick. But I mean, you see some sort
might have saved you 4 hours.
It might have changed me for life. But I mean, Russia was the least corrupt out there, got to be honest. It was just straightforward. Here's a number, if anybody tries to extort money out of you, call this. Call this. I mean, it probably would have. I don't know. It seems quite straightforward, Russia. Not as worrying as I thought. But it's the worst part of a trip, isn't it? Cousins.
It's the one that plays on your mind all the time, isn't it? And they're the same everywhere. It's the one
that ultimately can stop you.
Yeah.
Actually, I know what he's referring to. Pakistan, the border crossing was fine, but getting the visa was the issue, because typically a Pakistan visa, you have to get it in your home country. And obviously I was travelling to my home country, not leaving it. So I was trying to get my visa in Bangkok at the embassy there. So you go to the embassy, present yourself, can I get a visa? And they say, no, you've got to get it from your home country. And you're like, well, I'm trying to get there. He originally said no, and I guess those are the times where you have to just grit your teeth and say, no, I can't give in to somebody telling me I can't do that. I've got to try and persuade them. So I went back another day and went, well, this is the situation. And it was only through that encounter, and he said, well, what bike are you on? And I said, it's the 105cc postal bike. He said, 500cc. I said, no, it's a 105cc. And he thought I was a dickhead, but in a funny dickhead way.
Yeah.
And out of sympathy gave me a visa. But otherwise, I guess the desperation to complete that trip and do it in a pure way, I would have flown home to England and already looked at doing that. Flown home to England to get the visa, then to fly back and ride up, which is a ridiculous notion, isn't it? Really. Yeah. But so that's probably what Peter referred to. Yeah, that was just fortuitous that guy on that day took pity on me and he gave me a 10-day transit visa for 80 quid, 85 quid or something like that. So I mean, not everyone's as lucky, but then I couldn't get the Iranian visa. So actually, the borders are fine. It's a visa that I paid in the arse. So for me, the Iranian visa, I think I was emailing them, the embassy. Yeah. It was back when it was Iranianvisa.com. It was almost like a cartel company. They're the only company that could issue a visa, and they were just like, So you'd have to make multiple attempts, each time costing you X amount of money, and then you didn't hear back. I didn't think I heard back for 12 weeks. So you think, okay, that's not going to happen. And obviously, Horizons Unlimited is a good way for people to measure who's getting what. And it was kind of like the odd person was getting a visa, but most people were hearing nothing. And that's what forced me to go do the China route, because I knew I wasn't going to get through Iran. I mean, yes, you hear stories of braver people than I turning up at borders and walking their way through. And, there's a Frederick Schiffer who, I think I've got his surname wrong, Frederick Schiffer, who runs Lone Rider, the tent company, the planning company. Yeah. He did a ride back from China on a Kawasaki 150 dual sport machine, probably 2012, I think, before he started the company. And I think he talked his way through Iran, or certainly into China without a guide. So he was a good smooth talker. Obviously got a little bit more charm and persuasiveness than I. So he was one of those. Well, you'll always hear stories of people saying they got into China, they smuggled their way in.
I remember,
they talked to a guy.
When you stayed in hostels and you met other travellers and you met people that were backpacking and cycling and other bikers and stuff. The amount of people I met who said, "Oh no, I haven't got a car now. I've got a forged one. Just Photoshop it."
Yeah.
And the amount of people that were like on forged or so they said, were on forged documents. And I remember thinking, how does that work when you get to places like Australia where they're really
super
tight with stuff? It's like, what happens when you get caught with a forged document? You end up in the clink.
They put it still on there. What's the island where they put everyone in immigrants?
Australia,
that's right. Well, they're not letting them out, are they? Bless them.
No, they're not. God.
2 years, I think they said. But,
I had.
Let's not talk about COVID.
Oh, God, I know. I had Roxy on last week, Round the World Roxy.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
and obviously she's left her bike there at the moment because of COVID.
In Australia.
Had to come back. Yeah, and she was saying it's looking like it won't be next year now. It'll be possibly even the year after before she can get back and get on with the journey. And you're like, wow, it's crazy, isn't it? Things like that. You just. I mean, when she started her trip, middle of 2019, you just never would have contemplated something like 2020 would be.
I mean, I know it's first world problems and that to say we can't continue our world trips, but at the same time, I would. I don't know. I've got a brother-in-law in Australia who's got a dual citizenship, and I mean, if they say you can't come back to 2000 in 2 years, for example, then a lot can happen to parents back 2 years. Yeah. So it's not. Let's not talk about COVID because
we're trying to get away from it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try and escape it.
Right, next question then. Matt Sheen. I'm genuinely interested in the new Hunter Cub updated postie.
Me too.
Can you ask Nathan his views?
I think it'd be a great thing. I mean, Honda. Don't get me started on manufacturers. I think manufacturers just have got no idea what piques people's interest, which way the market's going, and talking to these manufacturers. Because before this, between doing my trip and now, I was editor of Adventure Bike Rider magazine. I've done freelance work since, so I've seen the corporate side and talked to the manufacturers and things like that. And all very nice people, but they are a million miles away from the average bike rider. And that, I would actually say, includes a lot of journalists as well. Not many of them have got any concept of buying bikes, running bikes, or what people want. It's just a distant, and that's generalising, and that's wrong to do. But that was what I came away with. Manufacturers talking about 10-year plans, then it leaves a huge disparity between what customers want now, what they want in 10 years' time.
Yeah, definitely.
And you look at Honda, they've made some abominable decisions, like the Falcon and the DN02 or whatever it's called. There's bikes that sold like nobody bought one.
Yeah.
The only people who bought one were the dealers because they were forced to buy. Look at Yamaha with the what's it called, the three-wheeler.
I really want to try that.
It's a novelty bike.
Yeah. What's it called?
Why have you? Somebody tell us.
I keep thinking Trident, but that's the Triumph, isn't it? It's the Triumph that's on it.
Can't remember.
There's people screaming at the computers. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, we're idiots, aren't we? And I just think this and then something like the Hunter comes along. And like the forums, if you engage with the forums, which a manufacturer or PR company or something should, they should see that the register of interest, and they should be able to do a Google search who's talking about CT135. And I know it's not as simple as that. We'll all sit in our room saying, why don't they bring this bike in? There'll probably be a multifaceted reason as to why that bike is not as easy to bring in as we think it is. There'll be spreadsheets and cost balance sheets that don't add up for whatever reason. But you've only got to Google that name because everyone is talking about it. I want one, a venture bike rider wants one, a sports bike rider wants one. They're talking about it in a way that nobody ever talked about the Super Cup, because the Super Cup shows the arrogance of somebody like Honda who think they can paint a vintage badge on a shitty, cheap Thai or Chinese-built Cub or motorcycle called an Innova, and then bring it in as a Super Cub and then try and charge £3,800 for it. It shows the arrogance of a manufacturer that thinks they can get away with that. And it failed because nobody bought the Super Cub, or they didn't buy it in sufficient numbers to stop me from getting too irate.
No.
It really upsets me that like Honda, I've got 8 Hondas here, Honda CT110s. I love those bikes because back then they were building bikes for the passion of building bikes, and maybe there's no profit in building bikes out of passion. They were well-engineered bikes. And what they did, those CT110s, they got people interested in motorcycling. They converted virgin motorcyclists into fully fledged motorcyclists and then went on to buy other bikes and become lifelong customers of brands. But somehow, manufacturers have forgot the need to generate new interest in motorcycles. And so they'll come out with a Super Cub at £3,800 when everyone will go, well, I'll just buy a Herald for £2,000. Why would I buy a Super Cub that's £1,800 overpriced, or a Monkey bike, which is a Super Cub in drag, which is I could buy a Chinese copy for £2,000 less? So Honda are losing all that fertilisation of new blood. And so you look at the Super Cub, at the CT125, you think, what a perfect machine to get such a range of potential motorcyclists interested in bikes. It's versatile, it's practical, usable, it's easy to ride, it's got so many virtues that would sell to a new audience. And what do? Don't bring it in. And it's like, Honda, what are you doing?
So
we want to love you, Honda, but we're not going to love you if you keep up-pricing the Africa Twin and laden it with ever more gadgets and trying to charge 20 grand for them. We're not going to love you if you keep following that philosophy. Build us something that's going to get grassroots motorcyclists riding again. Then sell as an Africa Twin at 18 grand with cornering lights on.
Here.
And it's so frustrating. And you talk to, I shan't name names, but you message Honda Europe and you say, are you going to, I'm this guy, I've ridden a postie bike around the world, I'm a journalist, I've got my ear to the ground, I feel this bike's going to sell, surely there's some traction there. And they're like, no, we've already said it's not going to come. We're not going to sell it.
And what reasons do they give, or do they not give any?
Because somebody in Europe who doesn't probably even ride a motorcycle, I think that's a frustrating thing. There's so many people who work in the higher echelons of manufacturers who don't ride motorbikes.
You see it at the shows, don't you? When you chat to people at the shows.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. And
certainly from Honda, a lot of them have come from the car side, so they can give a shit about bikes. But they've been pigeonholed, they've been said, you do marketing for Honda motorcycles, and they have to start from scratch. And I think it's just that lack of genuine passion from the manufacturers that is what is happening, is allowing the Chinese, who I think have got their ear to the ground, they are listening, they are responding, and in 2 years' time, the Chinese could turn around in a brand new bike. So if they see a gap in the market, they can exploit it very quickly.
Absolutely.
Whereas the Japanese are like 10 years down the road, still thinking about what next vanity project they can create that can charge 20 grand for.
Yeah, it's very true.
The next Vulcan or something. Chinese are trying to build bikes that people want today. And the fact that all the other manufacturers have forgotten about that need means that the Chinese will overtake it. And that's not because the Chinese are building better bikes, but they're building what we want today.
Yeah, I mean...
I think it's eminently frustrating that brands we love, such as Honda, have been such distant, unengaged brands.
But I mean,
that's why I'm applying for the job of brand ambassador.
You get my vote.
Can I just quickly interject? Royal Enfield, I've got a Himalayan, and I see them in a potentially really strong position because they're listening to the market, they're building bikes that are affordable, bikes that are good and at a good price, and they've got a real potential to capitalise on that and really corner a real mainstream market, which they've never had before. I think if they try and go too far down the triumph route of overpricing everything and laden everything with gadgets, it'll fail. But at the minute, they're in such a strong position if they follow that same trajectory of good product, well engineered, well manufactured, and desirable. Look at the Intercept. £5,500, it gets you a desirable, usable, reliable, brand new machine.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. There is a massive hole in the market at the moment for the smaller CC introduction to the biking world, but also for those who don't want the big CC bikes. I get a lot of feedback. That's why I started doing I'm doing some work with Sinis now on the little 125s, because so many people were contacting me going, all you vloggers, we love what you're doing, but you're doing the same as the journals. You're doing the top of the range, big brand leading bikes that are 15 grand, 18 grand, now 20, 22 grand. And they're like, I can't afford that. I'm looking for, the smaller CC, a couple of grand. I just want a bike to get me back on two wheels, and that's what I want. And initially in my head it was like, well, I'm not interested in any of that, so I'm not going to do it. Whereas now I'm thinking, now I've ridden the smaller CCs, it's like I actually enjoy riding the smaller CCs, and I think rightly so, from what you've just said there is this massive hole in the market, and we've got to look after those people that want to come into our little biking world, and also those that don't want these big CCs. They want the smaller market, or financially they're restrained to the smaller machines. It's just that sector just seems to be getting ignored. Obviously,
I think they don't take it seriously. I mean, my new venture for this year, thanks Bounce Back Loads, thank you Boris, for making money so easy to obtain and so difficult to claw back. I've just gone out and bought a Honda CRF 250 Rally, G310 GS, a KTM 390 Adventure, and a Royal Enfield Himalayan for people to come down and ride back to back. I think that market, small, 400, 250, 400 cc sector. I mean, I've had the Himalayan, done 25,000 miles on a Himalayan, and I just love the fact for $4,000 you get a bike that take you out well, brand new. That's kind of unearned. But I think, for me, and why I love the Himalayan, and I find it difficult to say like the GS 310, is because, like BMW, they've got such capacity to build brilliant bikes. I had a GS 1200. I love that bike so much. It was such a good bike. I really hated having to sell it, but financially I had to get it. But I love that bike. What a perfect machine the GS 1200 was. I trail rode it. I took it across Iceland, took it across America. Travel bike, sports bike, off-roader. What a bike. And then they come out with a 310 GS and go, you're kidding me. That's the best you can do to this newly developing market.
Yeah, which is a Chinese bike, isn't it? The 310 is Indian. Sorry, I thought it was a Chinese one.
And then have the audacity in India to try and charge twice the price of a Himalayan for them. It's bizarre. And then you think, you don't deserve my custom.
Yeah.
Because you've just taken me for granted. Because it's got a BMW badge on it. Yeah. They think that, they're really riding the coattails. And again, that's why I like the fledgling brands, because they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, they're trying harder.
They're trying harder. The Himalayan's not perfect, but what a leap back forward that is on the bullet.
Yeah.
And then, and I want to say that I don't think the 310 GS is particularly a bad bike, because I've been accosted by somebody who owns one and said that to me. Why do you hate the GS? And I don't hate it, but I see a great manufacturer capable of building great bikes, churning out something that could have been built in China and should have a £2,000 price point. But because it's a BM, it's £5,500. And I don't think that's good enough from a brand we've come to respect. And I think that's my Great. I'm so angry, aren't I? I need to get laid or something.
I can't help there, but
no.
Have you seen?
Send someone.
Have you seen the new Sinis Terrain 380?
Funnily enough, I've been in touch because I've got those 4 bikes for people to come to ride, and obviously the Sinis fits into that nicely. I think it'll sit far more closer to the KTM 390 Adventure as a road-orientated bike. You know, that bike flies on the road, but the KTM is terrible off-road because it's built for midgets. It's such a cramped, awkward riding position.
Right.
And I think the Sinis will fit that alongside that nicely, similar power and everything.
Yeah.
It'll be £1,000 less. Yeah. So yes, I've been on to Sinis to try and get a press bike from them because I'm going to do a 4-bike test on those 4 bikes for motorcycle sport and leisure. And I think the Sinis is the new contender, which at £4,500, you know, it could be great. Like, and whatever I gather, it's going to be road orientated. But that's, for a lot of people, that's fine.
I think, for most people, I think that buy the adventure style bike, they're never going to look at a gravel path, let alone, you know, taking it proper off road. But there are people out there that want to do that. I've had the 125 Terrain, and I was amazed at how good that was, to be perfectly honest. And I've got the 380 coming quite soon, actually. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you've got it before me. You've gazumped it. They said I can't have it until December. Oh, my God.
Till when? December?
You vloggers have elevated yourself above magazines.
I'll have a little chat.
In the pecking order.
I've done some groundwork with Sinis. I'll chat with you off air, and maybe we can sort something out.
No, let's do it now. Let's talk. Well, you should come down. You should bring that bike down. We can take the other you can test some of the 4 bikes. That would be a great vlog.
That's exactly what I was going to propose. Right.
And we could go green laning.
Let's do it. I'm up for that. Genuinely, I'm up for it.
No, I think you should. I really genuinely think you should.
Right. We'll have a chat. We'll do it.
Yeah. The definitive small postie adventure bike test.
Beautiful. There you go. It's coming to one of the channels. It's coming. Right, cool. Next question then. That was Matt Sheen. Robert Forster.
Really sorry.
What about? Mate, this is what podcasts are all about, mate. It is a conversation. It's a couple of people having a chat. So whatever comes up, comes up. Don't worry about it. People
recording still.
All right. People are interested in this sort of stuff. It's genuine, normal, real conversation. It's not PR bullshit, is it? It's what people chat about, what bikers chat about. It's what people are concerned about.
I know, but some people say sometimes I get people say I'm too negative when I do my reviews and stuff like that. But I think to be honest, for too long, too many people have been too positive about things. I like to bring things back down with negativity.
I get accused.
I think. I guess it's negative. It's not negativity. I think it's balance. Nothing in life is perfect. No bike is perfect and suits everyone. I think you got to. I think as long as you give a balanced view of something, I think you can say a negative thing because, I mean, if somebody was assessing me as a character, they would quite rightly have negative things to say about me. But I'd like to balance some of that with positivity. Anyway, next question. See,
I just today I had the total opposite, like on a YouTube comment, someone saying, "I love your enthusiasm, but you vloggers are constantly just giving rosy, positive reviews about bikes. It would be nice to get a review of a bad bike." You know, and I sort of said to him, look, I say it as I find it, and if I like something, I'll say I like it, and if I don't, I'll say I don't. But there's not been a single bike yet that I've gone on and gone, I've hated that. I've got nothing good to say about it. You know, for me, it's like a shit sandwich, innit? You give the good, the bad, and the good. And that's just, what's the point in being this bike's a pile of shit? If it's a pile of shit, I'll tell you it's a pile of shit. But I haven't found one yet that is just a pile of shit. Yet.
I mean, it's a tricky one. People are still not always realistic to the way the world works, I think magazines have been accused of favoritism, bias, whatever, for a long time, and I think the same applies to vloggers. And I'm not saying you are that, but there's a lot who, to survive, need good relationships with companies who supply them with things that are going to get them views.
Yeah.
And I think there is always going to be, and it's inevitable, it's going to come, always a scepticism with glowing reviews.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and I think sometimes people think that's a sinister thing. Oh, you're getting paid, you know, you've just been paid £500 by Sinister to say, is that, you know, try one, 2, 5, for example.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it just comes down to human relationships, and you kind of, sometimes you're just polite because you don't want to think anybody thinks that you're being an arsehole. But I can see from an audience point of view, sometimes they want to hear something being kicked in the shin, damned, I suppose. It's very difficult. It's such a fine line to get right, isn't it? Because, like I say, people have accused me of being too negative, and then they've accused you of being too positive.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's just human nature, though, isn't it? There will always be people out there who either see the world through rosy spectacles or through shit-stained goggles. It's just human nature. There's always going to be people out there, and there's going to be people out there who love the positive nature about everything, and there'll be people out there that love the sort of negative view on everything, because it's a balance, isn't it? It's whatever strikes a chord with that particular person watching.
And we're all defensive of what we love, aren't we? I mean, if anybody not see him alone, that's it. Yeah.
Man, what am I like? The GS, do you know what I mean? Like, I've gone from poacher turned gamekeeper now, but yeah.
Well, just turn the doors up. I know when I've tested Africa Twin or something for Bennett's, and because I didn't. I mean, I kind of sometimes I feel I think there's negatives to be found in the Africa Twin, and if you point them out, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, you're on the fan club's hit list.
They're gonna love me because I'm just doing the videos on I had the Africa Twins Adventure Sports DCT. I've had that for 3 or 4 weeks, and
oh, don't you dare say you don't like DCT, or that's it. You are in a hell. You're going to hell.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
No, I don't. I think DCT is the worst thing on a motorcycle ever.
I can see where it was great fun on the faster bits and in the sweeping corners. It was great because it's I don't know, it's like a novelty thing, but for the tighter, more technical stuff, I hated it. Even overriding with the Triptronic buttons, it would still, like hairpins. If I'm setting it up in second, I'd touch the gas and it would still drop it to first. And I was just like, no, I don't want you to. Leave it. Yeah, but anyway.
Oh, no, let's not go on the DTT together.
So I'm fully prepared for a lot of hate coming my way when those videos
you're going to get it.
Yeah, I will do, yeah. I will now.
Just tell them to get a scooter.
Yeah, to get the new Cub, yeah.
Just to go.
Nick Turnbull.
Nick.
Morning, Bruce.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks again for these podcasts. I'm really enjoying them. Please could I ask Nathan, what are the main benefits of riding such a small bike for such long distances? If he still owns his GS, what possible advantages are there in small postie bikes over the king of long distance and motorcycle adventure?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something you could easily. It would be very hard to find a reason why you take a postie bike over a GS, say, from here to Scotland. It'd be very difficult. Like, why on earth would you? Or even across America. I mean, when I took the postie bike across America, it was kind of hard work. You know, it was you're fighting what road you can ride on. You're fighting fast traffic. You're struggling with the distance. You know, it kind of wasn't. The postie didn't suit the America trip as much as it suited the Sydney to London trip. I think that's when you start, so you have to what kind of trip are you on about? So if you go into a third, say, developing world countries or crossing many borders, say the beauty of the postie bike is that you can get tyres everywhere. It is cheap to ship anywhere. It is cheap for carnet. So really, I mean, the GS in a way is a great bike, but it's probably the worst bike for going around the world on, because as soon as you needed a tyre for it, you'd struggle. As soon as you needed any engine work doing or any servicing, you'd struggle. You know, so I think it's the context of where you're using the bike that defines whether it's the right bike or not. Around Iceland, the GS was fine. It was great. Across America, as I say, it's perfect. But if I was going through Indonesia on it, I think, A, it's too big and heavy for those gnarly back roads. And again, if you needed tyres, you'd be paid. You'd have to ship tyres in. If you needed, especially, you need, what is it, 550 or 5? Well, I don't know what oil it uses.
I can't remember.
You wouldn't be able to get an oil for it. And again, it's just a lot to go wrong. Your final drive fails in South America, which I've read of people's. Your trips over. your trip really is over unless you guys can get to a very qualified mechanic or can spend a lot of money shipping parts in. So I think, to be honest, actually a big GS is a liability, or any big expensive bike is a liability. I mean, you can't aid to pass on a 10 grand bike or 15 grand bike. It's going to be through the roof.
Yeah, that'll cripple you.
My sort of £9,000 trip if I'd have gone out and bought a GS to do that trip on, my trip would have been 30 grand minimum.
Well, for mine, to do it on the Jigsaw, because they changed the rules on the Carney literally 3 months before I was due to go, they wanted to charge me 86 grand is what I would have to lay down for my Carney. And I was like, oh, what? And thankfully they sort of, because I'd been in touch with them about 2 years beforehand about this trip, and they honoured what they'd sort of told me it would cost. So I think it was 2.5 or 2.7 I had to pay. But even that's a big chunk of money. Nearly 3 grand you've got to put down.
Yeah, and I think, I see it on tours. February, I do some tours now.
Plug away, honestly, feel free.
No, I take people Land's End to go around the island and stuff. And I have seen quite several examples now of people who've got out and gone, I need a GS 1200 or I need an Africa Twin. I need an X-Plore. And they turn up and they're just so overbiked, it ruins their enjoyment, it ruins the trip. You can't turn the bike around on the campsite. They're tiptoeing it round if they have to do a U-turn. They're terrified of going down gravel roads. And they're just overbike. But I guess, it's very difficult in a showroom to say, I don't need the most shiny that I can afford. I'm going to go for something cheaper.
Yeah.
And so I think, I don't know what the conclusion is, really. There's no right bike, there's no wrong bike. Some bikes suit some circumstances, but then they're terrible others. I think something like the CB 500X is a good all-rounder, if somebody going around world or around Scotland. V-Strom 650 is a good all-rounder. I think all those middle of the road bikes that don't win group tests are the best bikes for travelling on. And I think that's the problem with the way journalism's gone. The one with the most bling wins the test, or the one with the most power wins the test, which translates terribly to what's the most usable bike in the real world. Yeah.
It's like what is the most expensive bike out there with the best toys in it? Well, that's obviously the better bike, and that's just not the case, is it? If in a practical sense.
And the problem is, as gullible as people we are, we all fall for it. We go out there and believe it. So you see a 5'6" guy on an Africa Twin that he's had to lower the arse out of, and he can't manhandle it. He'd be much better on a CB 500X or something like that, and he'd get more out of his trip. So, GS versus Postie. I'd love to go around the world on a GS 1200 because I did love that bike, but I would need to be incredibly well heeled to do it. And I think that I can understand people's criticism of, say, Ewan and Charlie or that Long Way Round series, because it did point in people's minds that the big trip requires a big bike. I think people should be strong-minded enough to make their own decisions.
Absolutely.
I think it's a bit of a weak argument to say, well, they did it on that, therefore I'm going to do it on that. Surely you've got your own brain. You should decide what you want. But
for me, it's the fact they did it. That was it for me. You've done it, so I can do it. Yeah.
But for somebody who maybe lacks a little bit of imagination or research, they would go, oh, wow, I need a GS 1200. So how much is one of them? 16 grand. Oh, okay. Oh, well, even if they get as far as Carney, I need 8 grand for a Carney or 3, whatever. Before they know it, they've gone, I can't go around one. I need 40 grand. Whereas, maybe they looked at the different. If they look somewhere else, so you can finally do it for 10 or something like that. So, to me, you can find positivities in all bikes, and you can travel on all bikes, can't you?
Yeah, true.
I certainly won't go very long on Postie bike again, that's for certain. I did Land's End John Goats with it on it about 3 years ago.
That's when I met you, I met you down at... I came along and met you on your first garbage run.
That was a long way. That's like a mission.
It's like 800 miles, wasn't it? 800 and something miles?
1,200. 1,200. No, back roads, so it's 1,200 miles. Jeez. And you go ride back down again. Sitting on M6 and M5 at 37 miles an hour, all the way down from Inverness.
Oh, mate, that's brutal. Brutal. Right, we need to pick up the pace here.
That one. Yeah, go on. Right, one-word answers.
Not quite, but yeah, we'll pick the pace up a bit. Steve Savoury. Steve's got 4 questions here. We'll pick 2. Ooh, that's a good one. Right. If you had to take one celeb as a pillion across any continent of your choosing, who would you choose and why, and which continent?
I want somebody who could cook. Now, Gordon Ramsay, but I think he'd dominate the trip a bit. I want somebody who's passive, not so, too demanding of fame, but can cook really well.
Cook. Oh, who's that going to be then?
Celebrity chef. What about Mark Worrell Thompson? He's quite assuming. Remember him?
Who? Anthony Worrell?
Anthony Worrell. Yeah. He sounded quite humble.
Yeah, he did actually.
Maybe him.
Yeah.
So somebody who could cook, but nice dinner every night. I remember when I was going up into Alaska, we met two Israeli soldiers at this campsite.
As you do.
Yeah, they were travelling on bikes, and they were so well prepared. And they
Mossad.
No, they were. Yeah, they were not.
Were they taking pictures everywhere they went? Yeah.
No, but they didn't talk about shooting Palestinians in constant war, which it seemed a bit. Yeah. Sometimes I didn't always agree with them, but you know, you meet the strangest of people on your trips.
You do, mate. Yeah.
But they caught a fish in the rivers, and they'd got a box, a traveller with seasoning. And they seasoned this fish and cooked these potatoes. I thought, wow, to travel. I mean, obviously, if they didn't talk quite so much about shooting people, they would make good travelling partners. But somebody who can cook. That's a difficult question. Celebrity. Yeah. Harold Bishop would have been good.
Who? Harold Bishop? What, from Neighbours?
Yeah, Neighbours, yes. I don't know. That's it. The next question, because I can't think of anything else.
Right. We'll do one more from Steve. What do you think will make you stop what you're doing? That's one to talk about.
Well, I think I am stopped, really. I mean, I'm very fortunate. After the trip, I did America, and by the end of the American trip, I kind of thought, I've had enough of this big trip stuff now. Mm-hmm. So I've come back, and It took 5 years. I mean, it took me about a year to have the courage to sign up to a phone contract, let alone anything more advanced than that. But now I've got a mortgage, I've got a wife for 5 years, and I've got a 1-year-old boy, and I've got 15 motorcycles. So I feel very lucky that I have gone on a journey that has been influential, transformative, beneficial ultimately, but at times jarring. Mm-hmm. But has brought me to a place where I have stopped doing what I'm doing in terms of the long distance stuff. But I've sort of managed to earn a living, or just about, by taking people on short trips. Mm-hmm. And that ticked enough fancy for me. As I say, if I go from Land's End to John O'Groats, I don't do trips on my own because I don't see no point. Like, why would I ride from Land's End to John O'Groats on my own? There's no point in that. But if I've got 25 people behind or with me who have never done it before, and then it's a challenge. It's triumphant. It's emotional. It's a roller coaster, and you see riders develop and grow and make friendships and make long-lasting friends. So I think the fortunate position I've worked myself into, because I don't think we ever find ourselves in these positions by accident, is that, yes, I've completely settled down. I love the stability that I've got. I love having a house key. And to be honest, as soon as when I got back from America, I moved into an 18-bed house share in Leamington Spa. Yeah. £350 a week. It was like not the most shared bathrooms, etc. But for the first time in a long time, I had my own door key and my own space and my own sanctuary. And I've not had that for a long, long, long time. So I feel very lucky that I've gone through the process. I've took what I need, and I've learned how to manage the urge to travel, because I still find joy in it. But equally, I find so much joy being on the beach nearby, walking the dog, and meet somebody who I wanted to have a child with. I mean, I never can imagine, after Sydney to London or a few years that followed, having a child. Mm-hmm. As I say, I couldn't even have a phone contract. I couldn't grasp any. I was terrified standing still. A few years that followed, and I think that's always, that's what I always warn people about if they're really curious to know. It's all right doing these trips, but at the other side, you ain't going to find no better roses. You're going to find a very unsettled, uncertain, frustrating, lonely place.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was like a 3 or 4 year period of aggression, frustration, self, anger, like, fucking hell, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I get a grip? And then, to the outside world looking in, they can't understand why you're on this self-destructive path. But that's what that trip took me even further into.
Same.
And so the trip isn't the trip. The trip is the actual process of traveling is only one fine element of a bigger story.
Yeah.
And I guess we all hope that bigger story takes us somewhere else. But I'm certainly glad that I've gone through it and now settled, rather than gone through it and thinking, where do I have to go next to justify my existence?
Yeah. I've got to admit, I have just recently, in the last sort of year, I suppose, it's probably because of the whole lockdown thing and being almost constrained and not being allowed to go away and do my tours in Europe and all this sort of stuff. But I have started to get a bit of wanderlust again, and it's like, I quite fancy going to do this and going to do that. And,
that's healthy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's healthy.
But for me, it's not how it was originally, just hitting the road and going. It's like, well, I'll go and do this and then come back. I'm always coming home. It's not originally it was just hit the road, but now it's like, I'll do that and then I'm back. I'm back. Yeah.
But I think that's generalising is always dangerous because people will often correct me on this, but I always think the big trip is generally, not always, but often, born out of a period that you try, a bad time. And then you're trying to escape and move yourself from that situation. So generally, when I've ever met travellers, whether they're on bikes or hitchhiking, and they're off, when they're off travelling, and I don't mean just backpacking around Thailand week. When they're like living with locals in the middle of Indonesia or they're going off into the middle of Pakistan mountains hiking on their own and living in a tent. Those kind of people have always come from a place of pain that's driven them out there to go, fucking, I'm off. And so, unless you're in that period, I think it's very difficult to get the energy to go. Why would you go around the world? Like you say, it's easy to romanticize it, but the reality is you've got no money, you're sleeping in edge bottom, and you don't know where you're stuck at a border. Your life's in danger to an extent. You've got to be pretty desperate to put yourself in that position, and also to stick with it. And so, I mean, I saw a guy posting on the Facebook the other day saying, I've been dreaming about a big trip for a while, and I think I'm going to do it. And you think, you need more than you think you want to do it.
Yeah.
You think you need to do it. Because if you don't do it, you're going to drive yourself bonkers.
Absolutely. That's the difference, isn't it? Is that I've got to do this compared to I'd love to do that.
Loved it. You've got to have nothing left to lose. I think that's always you've got to have nothing left in life that you value that you're going to miss. Because I mean, I could imagine now. Say right, or even somebody comes to me and said, "Here's 20 grand to go around the world and buy," and I rode off tomorrow to France, and I started thinking, I've got a 1-year-old boy, I've got a mortgage, and I've got a wife. Yeah, I know that's rare for marriages, but. I think, why on earth would I want to go around the world? I'd rather just be cleaning my baby's napkin and sat in a French service station drinking shit coffee. So, I don't know how that varies from your question, but...
You paint a lovely picture of life on the road. I'd rather be cleaning a shitty nappy out.
Well, yeah. So, I don't know where we're going with that. But the next question. Let's go and fire it on.
Next one. There's been a couple of general ones who we have covered a lot of what they're asking. Alexej, Bratkovsky, any interesting fun stories from your first years of riding that you'd mind sharing with one or two with us?
First years of riding. Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, if I think about it quickly in my mind, just saying everywhere, when I think about early days of riding, I think about crashing. That's all I can think of. We did motocrossing as children, and I just remember being absolutely terrible. I remember, I can't remember which motocross track it was, but there's a big left-hand berm uphill, and then people would sit around that berm, and I don't know where. I'd just go straight on. I wouldn't turn. I wouldn't go around berm. I'd just go straight into like the plastic fencing. Yeah. My mind must have been elsewhere because I'd just go straight. Like the people on corner chatting,
Turn!
I needed somebody with a sign.
Yeah.
Turn! And I just go straight over at Birmingham and end up buried in that orange plastic thing, you know. And I remember we went to a practice track in Clipston, near, Mansfield Way. And again, I just went the tight corner, and I just carried on. And people chatting, and I carried on down this, carried on down this lane.
What's that all about then?
I don't know.
Didn't like Benz.
I don't know what is that? Well, looking elsewhere. And I had an AR-50. I remember. I crashed that to trying to ride it too fast. But they were the early days. I had a TZR-125R, which I thought made me. Back then it was foggy, so I had a foggy race replica helmet. Yeah. Me and my mate who had an RG-125, we used to terrorise Mansfield and Matlock.
See, I never had that. I never had that whole thing. Because I literally did, I was late, so I was 32 when I passed my direct access, and I literally rode a 125 for a morning of my CVT, and then I did my direct access, and I was straight on to a Gixxer 600, and then
you missed the formative years.
Well, this is
unless
the thing.
Unless you've turned up at A-levels at sixth form on a pink, white and blue TZR-125 in a keto leather, Mick Doohan, jazz boots and a Carl Fogarty replica helmet.
You've not lived.
You've not lived. And then set off outside the school blowing blue two-stroke smoke everywhere.
See, I'm dazzling
ladies.
I'm sort of having a second youth now then, because I'm getting into the little 125s now. I'm loving the smaller bikes. Genuinely, I'm having a ball.
There's a lot of fun in them, yeah,
loving it.
It was a different era though with the two-strokes. I mean, I guess, but now because the four-stroke was slower, I guess you accept it being slow machines. But back with two-stroke 125s, they were all power valves and trying to get them to 800 and they were the glory days.
I've never ridden a two-stroke. Never ridden one.
Don't bother. No, it's fun. It's fun. It's fun while it lasted.
Right, next one. Ed Griffiths. Question for Nathan. You all right? What are the three most important items in the kit you carry whilst on your travels?
Just 1 second. It's my wife and child. And
hello, wife
dog.
And child and dog.
You can open it up. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, still recording. That's all right. No, go on. What? Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, dinner be nice. Dinner be nice. What are we having? Chicken. All right, sorry.
No worries. No problem.
We're back on it.
We're back in the room. Ed Griffiths.
Yes.
Question for Nathan. What are the three most important items in the kit you carry whilst on your travels?
Credit card.
Yep.
Debit card. And direct access to what's that bank transfer company? Did I say
Western Union.
No, I don't. I think. It was actually the guy who's on about planning his round the world trip whose question was, what do I pack on this round the world trip? Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, if you're going around, say, Scotland for a week, you pack exactly the same things as you would if you're going around the world. Mm-hmm. It makes no difference. So you got, change your clothing, basic tools, can you fix a punter? Yeah, okay, take that basic stuff. Have you got a tent? Yeah. Have you got a sleeping bag? Yeah. Have you got good waterproofs? Yeah. Have you got your riding gear? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's it, isn't it? Obviously, depending on where you're going, you're going to need your documentation. So 3 items: you, a motorcycle, and money. Mm-hmm. I would say, because if you've got access to money, then you can buy anything you don't have, mm-hmm. or likely to. I mean, because we all overpack, so I think it's better to underpack and buy as you go.
Yeah.
But when I took a group, I'm supposed to be taking a group this year. We got cancelled across America, New York to LA. So you could try and say, right, here's a packing list, and you need to take all this. But
it can be different for everybody, can't it?
You could share, yeah. It might be with different weather or whatever. So I think you just go with your basic rudimentary setup, and then go, okay, it's cold here. Climb an altitude. Actually, I'm going to buy another jumper. Mm-hmm. You go to Walmart. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They sell jumpers.
Yeah.
And you buy a jumper.
And it's the same the world over, because people generally wear clothes, so you just go to where they buy clothes and buy the local clothes, don't you? Yeah.
So I think having access to funds is the most important thing, and a backup. So we say funds, but I think still having cash is very important. So on the postie bar, I would always stash like $200 American dollars, even if I was in Indonesia, Malaysia, or wherever. American dollars would be a universal currency. Yeah. So that was a tip I would have. I'd just stuff it. I'm not going to tell you where to stuff it because then people will rob me or if they ever see me. But just $200 and I'd leave it there all trick, waterproof, knowing that if my bank card got stolen or declined, which it did in the ball, I'd always got some money I can transfer. But I just think, what's going to let you down? Punctures, really. And knowing how to fix punctures is probably the most important.
Yeah. But then I've
mechanically,
I found, like with punctures, the one time I got 2 punctures. One was sort of one on purpose, machete through the wheel, and the second one was a genuine proper puncture, and that was in Indonesia. And there's literally, like, at the side of the road, there are hundreds of people with their own little stall fixing punctures. So the one time I got a puncture, I didn't need to use my plugging kit because the little man at the side of the road fixed it for like £1, £2 or whatever it was. In fact, I don't even think it was a quid.
But if you'd have broke down
in the middle of nowhere
on the side of a busy motorway in Malaysia,
true,
you would have been glad you got that.
Very true.
I was coming down from Scotland and I stopped at the service station and there was about 8 Germans all on GSs and multistradas who'd come from Germany, headed to Scotland. One of them had got a puncture and none of them had got a repair.
Wow.
And they were like, and they got the foam spray, which had failed, obviously. And it's like, you've come from Germany,
and without
none of you have got a tubeless repair kit. They were all on tubeless bikes. None of you. And I was on my Himalayan, because I'd been going on the tour, I carried tubeless.
Yeah.
So, they laughed at, when you pull up on your Himalayan, you can see them looking down the nose at you. You're like,
and there you are with the key to the truck.
Oh, yeah, I've got it. You fixed it on the way. But they were going to have to call a breakdown recovery thing to recover their trip because of a puncture. And you think, how ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they've got a story, this English guy turned up and he fixed my puncture. It's great, he's got a story, but it could have ended up on the back of a lorry.
Could have. Yeah, definitely. I've always got one of those little plug kits in my rucksack. Always now. It's always in there.
I did have an anecdote about them, but I can't remember what it was.
Plug in someone else. I'll not ask.
No. It was a genuine anecdote.
Oh, right. Okay.
It wasn't like a fun or anything. Next question.
I'm interested now. Right, Tony Hannum. All right, Tony. Hi, Bruce and Nathan. Did you, Nathan, find it easier working on an older bike than, say, a new one? I remember my brother years ago strip his bike with just a screwdriver and hammer. So, basically what you were saying about the postie bike, sort of universally, you can get bits for it.
Well, no, you can't really. Yes, you can't. I mean, I can't get parts from here. I have to order it from Australia.
But surely it's more familiar for. Let's take Indonesia for example. One of the roadside mechanics. Surely your bike is more familiar for them to work on than, say, my bike. I turn it up on.
Yeah, for sure. There's no right answer to this. I mean, there's always extremes. On the one hand, and that is kind of my tendency now, I prefer a new bike or a very low age bike. I mean, I bought the Himalayan, it's a new bike, and it had got nobody else's fingerprints on it. Terms of mechanical. I mean, okay, so I've got a Husqvarna TR650 Terra, a very kind of a rare moment when BMW owned Husqvarna, and the Terra is a fantastic bike, same era as the Nuda.
Right.
Now so that bike, I bought that second hand. I mean, the person who'd had it before, from disastrous things to the forks, from disastrous things to electrics. So an older bike, if you don't know the history of an older bike, it can be an absolute pain in the arse.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I know other people who've both bought XR250s to go around the world on, and they've stripped them out and they've put new gaskets in, and then down the road something else has still failed on it because it's a 20-year-old bike. And ultimately, something on a 20-year-old bike is going to fail. Yeah. So I don't think it's a universal law of taking an old reliable bike and it will go around the world without any problems, because it can easily kick you in the teeth.
Yeah, definitely.
On the other hand, say, I'm trying to think, keyless ignition or TFT screens or LED headlights or electronic suspension, all those things that they're putting on high-end bikes, complete nightmares, potential disaster cases go wrong on the road. I mean, the Tiger 900, I've just been testing that for MSL.
Is that the Rally Pro?
It was a GT Pro. It was a road-based one. It was a road-based test.
Yep.
And the magazines, you've got to buy the top range one because it's got, what's it got? Electric suspension and heated seats, blah 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 blah. And you've got to spend $30. Actually, no, the best Tiger 900 is the one. And I think actually somebody told me Missing and Fly said this. The best one is a cheap one that's got less tech on it. But keyless ignition and all that sort of stuff for around the world trip is just a recipe for disaster. So the right answer is somewhere, I'd say somewhere in between. And that's, I'm not getting paid by Royal Enfield, but I really wish they should, because before Richie Boots come along, I was probably the most sexiest advocate.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything anymore, mate. No.
So because that's a simple travel bike that's new, so you can buy it new, so it's got none of the mess ups of previous customers, owners, but it's simple tech that anyone with a hammer could still fix it. So to me, that steers a perfect line of old and new, and that's why I like it so much. But again, there's no right or wrong, is it? I mean, the postie bike, I'm trying to think. It was pretty much trouble-free. But then I've got a fleet of them here. I've got 8 bikes. And I know full well when people ride them, I'm going to have issues, fork seals are going to go. And, all that maintenance side of things. So would you be better go sailing off on a 10-year-old C9 CT 110 tomorrow, or would you be better buying a brand new CRF 250L? Probably better on a CRF 250L.
Yeah.
Or CB500X.
For me, it's just I get asked all the time, what's the best bike? What's the best bike? To take on the world trip, and I just say exactly what was said to me. Jacques Lucasen said it to me when he was pissed as a fart. Funnily enough, we were a bit drunk at Horizons Unlimited thing, and his words stayed with me. He said, "Take whatever bike makes you smile." Just take whatever bike makes you smile. And I think you just have to accept, if you take an old bike, chances are you're going to have some issues. If you take a new bike full of tech, you've got to accept the fact there may be some issues. And with a new bike with loads of tech, if you get issues, it's not something that's probably going to be able to be fixable by someone at the roadside, is it?
Whereas an old bike, you're right. If you've got problems, you can fix it. I mean, there's a guy, Henry, I forgot his surname. He rode to Nepal on a Matisse. I mean, that was a great advert for British engineering, because I don't think he turned a wheel without breaking down. And he said that enhanced his trip because he met so many people. And he helped him engage with the...
Absolutely.
So, yes, he took the most unreliable bike he could have ever took, but it enhanced his trip. So, what's the best bike is such an impossible... Because if you hate breakdowns and talking to foreign people who can't
don't go on a trip.
Don't take on a certainly don't take a Matisse. Next question.
Right, next one, Johnny Hackinson. Question for both of you. Why does Superman duck when someone throws a weapon at him, but he just lets bullets bounce off his chest when you shoot him? Wow, that's a very valid point, Johnny. What have you been smoking?
I can't even think. Last time I saw Superman duck. Did he duck?
Oh God, I haven't got a clue.
Lost me. I do watch an odd nice DC, isn't it? I watch Superman, but don't know.
Do you know, I can't remember the last time I watched. I think the last sort of superhero thing I watched, I think Deadpool came on the TV a while ago. I think that was it. That's probably the last superhero type thing I ever watched. I haven't got a clue.
Watching Cobra Kai, which we quite enjoyed. Cobra Kai.
Are you watching that? Are you?
Yeah, team. Well, I can't split. Team Johnny, Team Miyagi. I can't figure out which. But it's very good if he's not seen Cobra Kai.
Mate, I haven't got. I just do not have time. I don't know where I had time to do a full-time job and this before, because I don't have time to do anything anymore.
So that schmoozing you're doing?
Oh yeah. Mixing with the rich and famous. Yeah.
I wish I could tick a box on that too. Our next question, let's not linger on this.
Haggis, for both. 1, what's the greatest challenge in doing a very long distance motorcycle trip? And 2, any tips for getting through the visa application processes? Greatest challenge.
Use a visa company.
Yeah, I used Travcore. I don't know if they're still around, but I used Travcore and they were awesome. You get a couple of passports. I think you're allowed up to 3 or possibly 4 passports, as long as you have business reasons for it, and there's ways and means. Get a couple of passports, liaise with a visa company, and they will sort everything for you. Costs a little bit of money, but it takes all the grief.
What was the first question?
What's the greatest challenge in doing a very long distance motorcycle trip?
Setting off.
100%, absolutely. It's the hardest bit, isn't it? Going. Yeah. What can you?
And then coming back. There you go.
Yeah. Can you remember the day you left? Well, obviously you can't. I've read your book.
Yeah. I've got it on video. It's. I was quite happy. I was quite sure. I mean, it's surreal, really. Quite surreal. You think, where am I going?
Yeah.
Where am I going to stay tonight? And aimlessness of mine. But again, that's what helped me, because I had a very fixed challenge ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Only having 2 weeks to get across Australia, I was like, right, I'm riding down to Sydney and I'm going as far as I can today. And tomorrow, I'm going as far as I can tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with that, that's why I think I've always struggled to do it the other way, because it'd be difficult to find that same challenge parameter as a reason to get out of Europe, maybe, or France.
Do you think? Because that's exactly that's the same mentality I had. Excuse me, on mine was just, I'm heading off today and I'm just going to go probably for about the first 5-6 weeks. How far can I get today? Which is because in my head I'm like, I'm travelling around Europe. Well, I can do Europe anytime, so let's get out of Europe. And then once I was in Morocco, it was like, it's the unknown, and I now know Morocco, safe as houses, no issues there at all. I've been back and spent quite a bit of time there. I love the place. But at the time, shitting myself, scared, unknown, what am I doing? I just want to keep going as far as I can to move on to the next one and move on to the next one. And it took a while for that to go and for me to start like wanting to explore, slow it down a little bit and explore.
I think that's probably a good example of a demonstration of the different dynamics of our 2 trips. And that I was trying to get home and you were leaving home.
Yeah.
Because, I guess I had what you had in Mauritania and that in East Timor. But because I was on a journey home, I just had to get up. There was I couldn't go back to Australia. Yeah. I couldn't really go back to England. I could have done, but certainly there were I didn't have that exit strategy. So I think by me doing it that way, it meant that when I got to that point where I wanted to go home, I couldn't. So I just carry on. Whereas I guess when you're leaving home, it makes it's easier and harder in a way, because it's easier to quit.
Yeah.
But harder to actually complete it.
Yeah.
Which you did.
Yeah. Like that first bit where I ended up back, that was up there with one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. That choice to give up and go home, definitely. But then it did help, because when the option came to go again, it's like I'm never going to be in that position where I give up again. I'm going to just go. So it almost intensified the drive to make it. In the second time around, it's like, right, I'm doing it. I'm either finishing the trip or coming back in a box. It's happening. I'm doing it now. So yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Life takes you on a wee journey, doesn't it? I think you just deal with what life sends your way and make of it.
You can't overthink these things.
Nah, not at all.
Go on, next question.
Right, Mike Phillipson. How you doing, Mike? Question for you both. Bruce, how the fuck have you never ridden a Honda? And Nathan, after lockdown, can you please get Bruce on a step through for his next video?
Well, you're going to come down and ride some postie?
Definitely, absolutely. If you're up for it, I am. I'll come see you.
Yeah, well, I've got me. I've got all warmed and ready for you.
Right, it's happening. It's happening.
Trail riding.
Okay, all right. It's your bikes. Biker J, question for Nathan. Coincidentally, I came across your Sydney to UK trip last week on YouTube. Would you have preferred to do the tour on your own or Forrest Gump style with others riding and cheering you on?
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, I'd love that now. I'd love to do Lands of John Goes with 1,000 people behind me. But, no, I mean, at the time, you know, I guess it's all about, like, what, I mean, for me, it was like that challenge, the challenge. So I couldn't even imagine doing the Sydney London trip with anybody else. I wouldn't do it with anybody else. Yeah, it was me against the world, and that's how it was. And I enjoyed a few days when I rode together with a German couple in Kazakhstan, but I was glad to go separate ways because I wanted to be captain of my own ship. I think it's a very different mindset between going as two or a pair or as a group as going on your own.
Definitely.
And I'm certainly not underselling what people who go as a group have achieved. I'm not doing that. But I think it takes a lot of the vulnerability away and that challenge that you experience when you're on your own. And I think just because what you want out of a trip, if you want to enjoy a trip, I mean, I've travelled with my wife across America. We love that, and I wouldn't have done that on my own. I love being together because you share it. But that was when I was in a different frame of mind.
Yeah.
And it is nice to share it. It's so nice to share it because I guess that's the most frustrating thing about travelling solo. You arrive at a nice location, you go like, "Hey,
yeah, such and such would like that." Yeah, that's what I find. Yeah.
I'll take a photo, then I'll carry on.
Yeah,
because when you're with someone, you'll stop and cheer. So. Again, there's no right and wrong. I think if you're in a mind frame that you need to travel alone, you'll travel alone. If you're in a mind frame that you travel as a group, then I think you'll travel as a group. And I think it'll suit different personalities equally. And I'm just trying to think. I mean, when we talk about vlogging and stuff, I think there was a question earlier: do you wish you'd done more vlogging? Now, I was 2009 was before vlogging had really. Got going, and I posted on ADV Rider a lot. I had a thread going in London on a moped or something like that, and it got quite a lot of traction quite early on because people were like, "Fuck!" Dude, I think I started when I was in like Thailand or Malaysia, so like, bam, and I got photos put up. People were like, "Whoa!" Big Americans really got into it, which was great. But then you realise you're dragging along with you a huge audience. And with a huge audience comes a huge amount of expectation. And also with a huge amount of expectation comes a huge amount of critique. And then what you realise is you've welcomed into your world a load of hassle. So I always certainly admire people like Itchy Boots and Kinga and all those other vloggers who were doing it and courting attention, which is effectively what they do, as they go. Because that attention creates so much anguish as well as, you know, and the negative, I guess they must get the reward, whether it's financial or the joy of having an audience. But for me, after about 2 months of courting attention, and I got to Pakistan or something like that, and I think somebody was like on the phone, why have you not posted for a few days and stuff? You're like, oh, fuck this. I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it for you guys. I'm doing it for me. And then they'd say, oh, why are you doing it in them gloves? Or why are you doing it in that? Why are you doing it in that? Why? And you're like, wait a minute, I didn't do this trip to these fat twat in a seat in America or wherever they were sat, who's just keyboard worrying me. So, I mean, I shut that down. So I really admire those people who can persevere with that attention that I mean, like Ichibu's getting 500,000 subscribers. And it's a lot of potential abuse, critique, criticism. It's a lot of praise, but as you know, Bruce, and we all know, if 99 people said you're a beautiful person and one people said you're an ugly twat,
you focus on the one.
So I guess for me, I did in a way go with a group. It was just an electronic e-group, and I didn't like it. But then equally, I've been across America with 12 people, taking them across on their own bikes, and the beauty of having camaraderie and like the joy of a group, a gang, a posse going across America is mega.
See,
there's no right answer.
Yeah, I do. I'm like you. I prefer to travel on my own, but I love meeting up with people along the way. So, like even the stuff in the UK, I'm lucky to have a good community online through social media and stuff. So I'll post up and say, especially on Patreon at the moment, because it's a smaller community. So like I just did it down in the southwest, just post up there and say, right, I'm heading down to Devon and Cornwall for a couple of days. If anyone wants to meet up this is my rough route. If anyone wants to meet for a cup of coffee and a chat along the way, then brilliant. And as it was, I ended up, two lads ended up doing the entire trip with me, and I met, like half a dozen more people along the way, and I love that because you get the chance to mix, but at the same time, you get your own time as well. So but then I also do the tours. I do my tours in Spain and stuff, and I love to take effectively random strangers who I don't know, but they become mates, and you're taking those people. A lot of those people have never ridden outside their own town, let alone anywhere around the UK or in another country. And I love being like that method to get people to expand their horizons a little bit. I love seeing people ride in Spain for the first time and just get blown away by the roads and the mountains, and I love all that. You're sort of passing the baton a little bit, aren't you? Look, there you are. You can do it. You go for it. You can do this.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, next one. Mike on a bike. Where's the best place in the world for you to just roll up on the bike and pitch a tent? Ooh.
Kazakhstan.
God, I never did Kazakhstan.
Easy. It's like a 2,000-mile field of emptiness. There's a road going through it, and then so as soon as you're on a camp, you're just like, right, turn off that road. Yeah. And there's no fences, and there's no ditches, and there's no mountains. You just ride off, and you ride for half a mile on compact dirt, late bike down, put your tent up. That's it. Middle of nowhere. Kazakhstan, easy. America's the hardest because everywhere's owned or fenced off.
Yeah.
So wild camping in America, I found it very difficult.
I enjoyed camping in Russia. I've got to admit, I did enjoy camping in Russia, but it's just mozzies. Mosquitoes were horrendous.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they were horrendous. Norway was good to camp, but just again, mozzies everywhere. Yeah. Kazakhstan, I'd like to see Kazakhstan.
Just go out, just go and look at a field out, and imagine that went on for 10 days.
That's it.
Then that's Kazakhstan. Yeah.
Did you do Mongolia?
No.
You didn't go up to Mongolia?
I didn't. I cheated. Mongolia, didn't it? No, I'd have had to go up through China to the top of China. No, it weren't on route. I mean, Mongolia looks fun.
I would love to do Mongolia. That was...
Kyrgyzstan's easy. Yeah, Kyrgyzstan. I mean, all them areas where I guess there's not a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, Roxy did all the stands. She did that route through the stands on the Fireblade. It's crazy.
She's a proper traveller. She's not like us fannies.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like... And she is so matter-of-fact about it. She was just like, well, She said to me, well, I watched you do it on the Jigsaw, and I thought, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't do anything like what you've done. She's done the Pamir Highway on the Fireblade.
No, I mean...
she rode to Everest Base Camp.
Yeah. Manali Lake Highway. I mean, I'd ride off on a light bike. Wow. Yeah, I've not met her, but I think she's one of those you admire the spirit, because she certainly didn't seem to be doing it to make a name for herself.
No.
Or anything. She weren't like, hey,
it's
look at me.
She
just did. She posts and that, but you can see that the post is a secondary aspect. Mm-hmm. It's her doing the trip, which is the primary. And I guess you respect anybody who does anything like that, but her especially for just getting on with it, really. No frills in it. It's just like...
Yeah. I mean, she's
not like us sellouts, is she? Like mugs, T-shirts and tours.
Available, TeapotOne.com, and... Which yours available?
Buy them, yeah. I've got 50, Millward.com.
There you go.
Dorothy's Speed Shop. So Dorothy's Speed Shop, I've rented a unit there, and it's an ex-abattoir / VW restoration place, and it's going to be a hub in North Devon for people to... Well, I've got bikes there, so I've got my 8 posties, my 4 entry-level adventure bikes, and I'm looking to get 2 interceptors in my ways. I just take people out, really.
Nice.
Guided people.
Mate, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Gentle plug, isn't it?
If the invite's there, I'm coming, and I'll do a little vid there and fly the flag as much as I can.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I've got a coffee machine which will be free.
Right, I'm there.
And also,
do you do cake?
I think next week I'm going to go have cake. Yeah. I'm going to have the sidecar on display. The scooter sidecar guys sidecar. That's going to be. It's going to be. This speed shop is going to be home. Basically, needed somewhere to dump it, and I've got 1,500 square foot. So,
mate, do you want the beast? Do you want the Gixxer for a bit?
Yeah, bring it out.
I hate,
it's like a junkyard.
Well, I hate the thought of that bike sat in my garage just rotting, and
yeah, bring it down.
And if I could put it somewhere where anyone can see it, you feel free. I'll have it for a while.
Fine.
Right.
I'll have it.
Right, we'll sort that out. Next one, Martin Bronze. I was hoping Nathan would come on board. Question for you both. What luxury item would you bring on a round the world trip? Crocs don't count.
Oh, what a wanker. To be honest, when I did my trip, I never discovered the joy of Crocs.
Do you wear Crocs? Genuinely?
I have it all the time. I live in Crocs.
God, just shoot yourself in the face.
No,
Life's over.
It's nice. It's just a practical shoe. I can go down the beach in them. I can ride the bikes in them. I can. When you're travelling, you can strap them on the back of your bike.
You sound like me clutching at straws, trying to justify why I have a GS.
The most universally useful shoe in the world, because when you've got pannier, you don't have to put your shoes in a pannier, but you can strap them onto the outside because you're weatherproof. And then when you get to a smart pub on an evening, slip on a pair of Crocs, in you go. Hello, sir. Table for 2 hours.
When you get to a smart pub, you slip on a pair of Crocs.
A pair of Crocs.
Wow. Mrs. Millward, you are a very lucky lady.
I think anybody who knocks Crocs is just living a shallow existence.
Wow.
A luxury item. God, I don't know. I would have liked to have had a torch.
That's a luxury item. Wow.
Yeah, I would like to talk. And a roll mat. I actually got rid of. I bought before I set off. I bought one of those foam roll mats.
Yeah.
And it was I just kind of threw it away in Indonesia, and then from that point on all the way back to England, I just slept on the floor, like on the floor, in a tent on the floor.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not good for your back. No.
But I found I prefer a hard floor, and I'd still rather sleep on the floor a lot of the time than a mattress, to be honest.
Caveman.
Honestly,
you talk about me with Crocs.
It's like when I've spoken about this before. When I got to the Isle of Man for the TT on the last bit of the trip, and my wife came over, she didn't want to sleep in my tent for obvious reasons, so she bought a new tent for us to sleep in. But she also bought an inflatable like double mattress for us to sleep on.
Oh no, they're terrible.
I couldn't sleep on it. I was in agony. I ended up sleeping on the bench in the shower blocks because I couldn't sleep on this mattress. But anyway, round the luxury item.
We're on for 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Go on. We're
nearly done.
No, I'm fine, but I just wonder if your listeners, if there are any still.
There's probably about 3 left, hopefully. So let's keep them.
Hello, thank you. Anybody who's still listening gets it. Should I say 3 more? No, because there might be more than 3.
Mate, I generally have about 15,000. 1,500 downloads for the first day, so I wouldn't offer anything free because you might get a few offers.
Oh, hello.
Yeah,
more often.
It's crazy that this podcast it's the top 10% globally.
Is it really?
It's nuts. I don't understand how.
There's some it's because your effort you put into it.
There's some real shit out there. Yeah.
But no, you put a lot of effort in, and the effort reaps reward, doesn't it?
Well, people seem to enjoy it, which is awesome because it's just people having a chat as far as I'm concerned.
There's a lot of bored people out there.
I get messages from people who like they're driving, they drive for a living, so they listen to podcasts. There's a guy, John, and all the bin lads, they drive the bin lads and they have the podcast on when they're working. It's all that sort of stuff. People doing DIY, the garden, all that sort of stuff. Right, luxury item for me, probably a phone. Just a phone's luxury item to take because it's got everything you need there. Internet access, navigation, somebody to talk to if you need. Yeah, phone.
Okay.
Not as good as Crocs, but yeah.
Crocs rock.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to get a new pair for Christmas. That's on the Christmas list.
Wow.
And I've got to get my boy. Apparently, you can get Croc wellies as well, which is a whole new world.
Croc wellies?
Croc wellies, yep.
Do Crocs not have holes in them?
Well, no, obviously they plug these holes up for the welly version.
I just had visions of wellies,
no,
like Swiss cheese wellies. So how's that work?
No.
Right.
No. Next one.
Ethan
Hey,
Hardwick.
look what I found, a torch.
Hey!
I found a torch.
You're the richest man in the world now. That's it.
Fucking lucky man.
Ethan Hardwick. Question for both. What would you recommend is the most important item or information you wish you had or knew about before heading out on a long-term trip?
I wish I knew about the Himalayan. That's why Ethan's bought one and his partner.
That's you, is it? It's your influence.
I don't know. Actually, Ethan's got I've still got bad blood between me and Ethan because when I took him on a tour from London to John Grove, he asked if he could try my Himalayan, and he went off for a ride on it. He came back, put it on the stand, walked away from it, and it fell over.
No.
First time, yeah, I've not forgotten Ethan.
He bears grudges. He does bear grudges.
No, I cried. I didn't go about 800 miles
on it.
Oh,
mate.
No. What's the question?
What would you recommend is the most important item or information you wish you'd known about before heading out on a long-term trip?
I would say don't listen to information because people saturate themselves with far too much information. Too much information out there. I mean, when you see the forums and somebody goes, "I'm thinking about doing this trip. What bike should I buy?" It's like, oh, you muppet! You've just literally going to hear 500 answers about why they should buy what. The bike that the person who's commenting says.
Who's probably never gone further than their calf.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, just don't. So that'd be my information. Don't ask for information. Read quietly what other people are saying. Digest what you need to. Discount what you don't need to. And as soon as you've got enough information, stop digging because all you do is dig yourself into confusion. And that.
There you go.
I mean, I think when people go to Horizons Unlimited and spend all weekend listening to speakers, I think. Fucking hell, was that productive or did you just come away thinking, holy shit, that sounds even more daunting than it did before?
I did the whole Horizons Unlimited for a couple of years before, I went along to each, maybe two. Every summer I'd go along to one before I went on my trip. And I really enjoyed it for the chance to listen to what other people had done and the chance to, that's where I met Jacques. So I got a chance to sit and have a beer with Jacques and Austin and, Ted and all the greats of the overlanding world and yourself. I think you were away. You were away, I think, weren't you?
Yeah, I met you at Ace. I think I met you. So I met you at Ace, didn't I? I think you were at Ace Overland Overland.
Yeah, Ace. That was the year I left, 2012, wasn't it?
It was before you left. Yeah,
that's where I met you. But I liked it for a chance just to chat with people, and it's almost like you realise they're just like me. They're normal, and okay, they've done it. I can do this. So I sort of found it as a great incentive for me. It's like I can do this. It's not just a pipe dream. I can do it. But I think I could see how you could also go there and just be bamboozled with different viewpoints on how to do things because it is a very individual thing. Travel, isn't it? It's like,
well, there's no right book. I mean, I know there's an adventurer's guidebook, but
there's no right or wrong, is there? It's just,
no, there's no right or wrong. No.
Unless you listen to what Sam Manicum says, where he basically says just treat everybody with a smile and go with it, and that's to me the best attitude. Just crack on.
I don't know. Some people don't deserve a smile.
No, they don't. But when they've got an AK pointing at you, you've got to smile.
Oh, they'll smile at that.
Yeah.
What was your? Did you answer?
Oh, most important item information you wish you'd known about before heading. No, I hadn't. I tried to avoid it. But thanks for bringing that up. On a long-term trip. Most important item information you'd wish you'd known about. Jeez.
It's kind of an airy question, isn't it? I'd rather be asked, what's your favourite colour? Because you got an answer for that. What's your favourite colour?
I was pretty much almost to the end of my Russian leg before I realised I could buy a local SIM for my phone and put it in my phone. So
good advice.
the whole way,
that's...
I'd been using my British SIM, and I ended up with like a 600 quid data bill by the time I got to Vladivostok, because I'd been accessing the internet and texting while I was crossing Russia. So that was what's the word? That was a eureka moment when I realised I could unblock my phone, get your phone unblocked, and then put a local SIM in. And like, I think at that time, crossing Russia, for 6 quid, I think it was, you got unlimited data, high speed data as well. Unlimited data, unlimited text, unlimited calls, everything free for 6 quid. That wasn't for a month, that was free.
Wow,
yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, I imagine you don't get that anymore, but at the time you did. So, yeah. Unblock your phone and use a local SIM.
Good advice.
What was your answer?
Next question. I can't remember now.
Crocs.
Don't listen to advice.
Martin Fordham, that's Ventura. Question for both. When not travelling the world on an unsuitable bike, what's that? When not on travelling the world on an unsuitable bike. That's why. When not travelling the world, sorry, they went off on one. When not travelling the world and at home, if money was no object and you can have up to 3 bikes in the garage, what 3 would they be? Or would you just have one? So if you could have 3 bikes, what would they be? Or would you just go for one all-round bike?
No, I'd have a GS12 or 12. I'd have a 12, actually.
1250.
Has got too much. No, it's got too
Don't
much
you
gas.
dare say there's not much difference. Don't.
I've not ridden a 1250. I just can't. The 1250 is another. Hey, this is new and shiny.
It's awesome.
Blah blah blah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but so the 1200 is awesome.
It is,
yeah.
but compared to 1250,
yeah, not confident. I've not ridden one, but I know you vloggers have to say these things, but I just don't believe you on this.
It's my third GS.
I'm kidding.
I love it.
No, I just go for 12. I like it. No, non-keyless, non-TFT, all that.
Keyless is awesome until it breaks.
Keyless is just this. I mean, you can't say you can't diss Crocs and say keyless, because at least Crocs are practical. They enhance your life. And they never fail.
I'm not even entertaining Crocs. Yeah. Just get them out of the conversation. You've given up on life.
GS12 is a good all-rounder.
Yep.
I do like me Malayan. I saw that. But to be honest, you choose 3 bikes and then next week I should have got that.
I know. So, yeah, same.
Yeah, I think it's an impossible question. I can't even think of one. I mean, Husqvarna, I've got that too. I love that bike. It's probably my favourite bike I've ever owned. I'd probably get that fixed because it's blowing oil out of the crankcase breather at the minute. So I'd probably get that fixed. Money no object, and love it forever. That's a bike that I've had a chance to sell over the year. I've had it 4 years and thought I really could do with selling it for money, but I thought, no, I really like that bike.
I've not
so actually, that bike, because it's the only bike I've not sold.
The Husqvarna. I've not ridden one of them.
If anybody wants to buy it, then
you can be persuaded.
Blowing oil out of the crankcase breather, or wants to fix it for a reasonable fee.
What was it? Nathan? Is it Dorothy? No, NathanMillward.com.
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 Right.
Links down below.
Yeah. What bikes would you go for?
Be the GS 1250. If I could have 3, GS 1250, the new Gen 3 Super Duke R, and if I'm not paying for these, I think I'd probably have the Livewire. I'd have an electric.
Well, that's an expensive ornament.
That's it's an expensive garage, but yeah, I think so. The GS, because it does everything. The Super Duke R, because it just makes me feel like I'm 14 again and invincible. And the Livewire, because it's, out of all the electric bikes I've tried so far, it's the one that feels the most unique to me. It feels different. It's got a different riding position, and I like it. It's almost like it's got the Harley thing, but not, if you know what I mean. It's electric.
Yeah, it's wank.
I genuinely like it. I genuinely liked it.
I liked it for about 20 minutes, then got bored.
Did you?
And wished I was on. Yeah, I wished I was on the Multistrider 950S that the guy in front was guiding me on. Okay. It made noise. I could see him working a clutch.
I didn't ride. I didn't ride with someone.
Sat on this little, electric thermothrottle. and it's quick. But once the quickness, the sensation of quickness, because I think it's really well polished product. Like the pickup on the throttle is really progressive and non-intimidating. And I think the actual product itself is good. But ultimately, I just found it so unengaging.
Did you?
I got 20 minutes in, I was like, I'm bored. I'm bored.
Do you know, I wonder if that's because you were riding with somebody on a petrol bike, because that's something I've not done, actually. I don't think I've ridden with anyone else when I've been on electric and they've been on petrol. So you can see that comparison. What's interesting, that I'll be one that I'll have to try.
I don't know. I just couldn't. I couldn't get no. I was impressed with the technology, but ultimately bored by the technology. Yeah. Or if it's one of your top three, who am I to argue?
You wear Crocs. What do you know? Right. 2 more questions and then we're done. David Buchholz. Question for both of you. What would be the Here we go. What would be the bike? What would be the optimal bike for travelling the world, and why? Would you go light and easy to handle, or big to carry lots of luggage? Well, God, this has been the staple of the whole conversation, hasn't it? Optimal bike.
There's no optimal
It's not. It's an individual thing. It's an individual thing.
See, at the minute, so the bikes I've got at the minute, I've got 8 posties, a CRF 250 Rally, a GS 310, yes, don't hold that against me, KTM 390 Adventure, 2 Himalayans, a Husqvarna TR650, and a Moto Guzzi V85 TT. So, if I had to choose a bike to do any distance work tomorrow, of those bikes, and let's say the V85 represented the 1200 GS kind of class. I know it's kind of a bit below, but let's say that's that end of the market. I would say I still got me Himalayan.
Would you?
Yeah, because it's just like a comfy pair of slippers or comfy pair of Crocs, and I think for travelling, it depends again. If you're blitzing up to Scotland, fly around Scotland quickly, come back down quickly. A GS12 or a V85, which I did. I had that choice. I was putting a group around Scotland a few weeks back, and it was choices. I had to let me Himalayan or my Guzzi. I took my Guzzi because I had to get to Matlock for like 10 o'clock in the morning over in North Devon. So Guzzi, and I got a speeding ticket.
yes.
I never speed. Got my M5. So it would Himalayan. And as I say, I wish I was sponsored by it. I really do.
Yeah, you do fly the flag for them massively. It's like me and the GS.
I said that boy. I said when it come out and I bought it, because I bought it completely on spec. I got a broken ankle, I was laid up. It come out and the promised bikes, 6 months before it come out, they say it's going to be $4,000. I thought, no chance on earth is that going to be $4,000. Yeah. Not when they want 5.1 for a CRF Rally and 5.5 for a GS 310. I thought, never in a million years $4,000. It come out $4,000, and I got talking to a dealer at NEC. Cooper, probably the best, not sponsored by them, but a really sound dealer, Cooper in Northampton. He says, well, if you want one, I did give me a bit of a deal, a bit of a discount. And I sat with a broken leg, broken ankle after falling off Millward on motorway. And he said, oh, what do you want one? I said, well, go on then. And I had some tours to guide that year. And I bought it completely on spec, never had them in. And I took it out. And in the first 50 miles, I think I said it on film, which is fine itself too. For the rest of your life. I said, this is the best travel bike of the last 5 years. And after 25,000 miles on them, riding one back from Bulgaria, riding one across America, trail riding it, I still stand by that. Yeah. Because for $4,000, you buy a bike that will do everything. And you don't have to change anything. Maybe put a seat cover, maybe it comfy with some panniers. Yeah. But other than that, it's like it does everything, and it's not fast, and it's not the best at anything. But as an entire package. So that's why I fly its flag organically, naturally, without any. I mean, the best I got 100 quid off a set of panniers from the import. Yeah. But I pay for my own servicing. Yeah. So
that's. I mean, you can't argue.
I like that Guzzi. That Guzzi's a good bike, but does it do anything that the Himalayan at a third of the price does? No, because a bit quicker at motorway gets you a speeding ticket. It don't do anything better.
Right.
And I mean, on that, coming back from Bulgaria, I really should get paid. Coming back from Bulgaria, I was guiding, and I had people on Africa Twins and GS 1200s. And apart from the periods where you needed just a bit more punch, you think you're riding with a guy on a 20 grand GS 1200, and you think that I'm on a $4,000 Himalayan. Yeah. And you think, why on earth why on earth have we got to a point where people are paying 20 grand for a motorcycle, which does exactly the same job,
and accepting it like it's normal? It's just normal.
Like normal.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And you think, I mean, and that's not begrudging anyone who spends 20 grand, right? Because it's a wonderful bike.
Yeah.
But certainly you think, well, and then that's what it cements my admiration for it, because in such a little amount of money. I mean, I've got one now, just bought one, $3,000 to pay for it with 4,000 miles on it. $3,000. If I can afford that without putting it on credit.
You're doing well. I couldn't. Jeez.
Yeah, well,
I haven't got £3 at the moment. Jeez.
Yeah, times have turned. Giving him more Patreon money.
Mate, yeah. Please do, people. Please do.
So that's it. I beat the drum for Himalayan, and you said, what did you say?
Optimal bike for travelling the world. God, I haven't answered that one. Optimal bike for travelling the world. I just think it just depends. It depends what you want from the trip. It depends what your budget is. It depends what your time constraints are. It depends what sort of traveller you are. Are you going to be doing off-road, on-road, a mixture of both? Just...
Yeah.
For me, it's like...
It's whatever suits you, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever bike you're happy on, take that bike. Just take that bike. As long
and again, don't listen to anyone else.
No, yeah. Whatever bike makes you smile. It's what was said to me. It sounds weak, but it's just true, because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending a lot of time on that bike, and there's going to be times you love it, times you hate it.
I'd say the comfiest bike. I'd say the biggest factor of the bike for distance is comfort.
Do you? It doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Well, obviously you're obviously tougher bred than I. If I was on a bike, I could only do 2 hours, and that couldn't do it. Like the postie is okay. They only do 40 miles an hour, but I could do 12 hours. It's still coming about 400 miles. But if I've got a killer seat on it, if I got a killer seat on a 1200 GS, I couldn't do 400 miles. So to me, seat comfort or being comfy. I think we've answered that one. Next one, last question.
Last one, Dave Moore. For both of you.
Yeah.
If travelling again, is there a particular part of the world you would avoid, and for what reason? Could it be simply logistics, or perhaps information from others who ventured there and regretted it? Place you'd avoid.
London. You're going to get your bike nicked up.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. Obviously for me, Mauritania, I didn't have a great time, but then I've spoken to plenty of people who've been there and had no issues. So again, for me, it's like, well, I'd quite like to go back and exercise the demons and do it.
Try again.
Get through.
I can't think of anywhere. Go again. No, I can't think of it. I mean, I don't like travelling through cities. That's my only thing. Like, that could be anywhere really, but cities are a pain in the arse.
Yeah, there was nowhere I genuinely thought I never ever want to come back here ever again. Like parts of Indonesia were horrible to ride in because it was just
I've got an answer.
Constant traffic. Go on.
Australia, middle of the outback, Australia.
You not like it?
So I challenge anyone to say that they appreciate that wilderness, but or woman. So I've got these postie bikes because I led a tour across the outback from Brisbane to Perth, which wasn't without issue.
Wasn't exactly smooth sailing, was it?
It wasn't exactly smooth sailing. And that was through the eye of the outback. So anybody who's familiar with it, so there's just Lecky, the Udna track, and the Great Central Highway, which goes out past all the way. So it's like 4,000 miles of dirt road, and there's you can generally find charm everywhere you go, but really down those tracks, those days and days and days of corrugation.
Yeah,
that's the only place I can't think for a single reason I would want to go back there.
Yeah, when you said the Oz and the Outback, I'm thinking of the blooming, is it the Dalton Highway and everything that I did, Tarmac Road. I didn't do the dirt track.
No, I think there's joy in a challenging dirt track, or joy in a dirt track that takes you somewhere through something scenic.
Yeah,
but a dirt track that takes you through monotony, it just. And it's not overly challenging, but you've got to endure it for day after day after day after day after day.
Yeah,
I think that's when it's like.
What's
pointless.
the point? Yeah.
So Yeah, so I mean, I think there are some really good dirt tracks in Australia, but I can't say we chose them, and that was probably where that went wrong. So that was really the Australian outback. Having said that, when I come across the outback on the tarmac roads from Rockhampton to Brisbane to Darwin on the postie bike on the first trip, I loved it through there because it was it was single strip tarmac to single highway or just narrow to, and the scenery was green and lush, flat but green and lush, and I loved it. I thought it was so enchanting through there. But throwing some corrugations, some red desert for 3 weeks. Different story. So that's it. That's my answer.
Dude, we have got through all of the Patreon questions. However, we haven't even looked at Instagram or Facebook. So, would you come back on another time and we'll try them?
I don't think. Well, see what your audience figures out.
Yeah, if you kill the podcast, then you're never coming on again.
Well, hit me with a quick one. What's a quick one on Facebook?
I haven't
Just
opened up.
Make sure it's not about what bike is the right bike.
Right, I'll go on to Instagram because that one's open at the moment, which is at TeapotOne. Insta random, bang.
What's your favourite bike?
There we go. Phil Tonicide or Phil Tonic.
Oh, yeah.
Phil Tonic DE. How you doing, Phil? Question for both of you guys. On boring stretches, what do you do to keep your head occupied on the bike while still paying attention to the road and traffic? Good question.
Gum.
Chewing gum.
Yeah, I find chewing gum's a good stimulant.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're tired, I broke that torch that I've only just found. Broke it.
Been that one.
I looked through your item and I pulled it apart.
How long did that last? Not even an hour. Never mind. Do you know what I did? Is I never changed my clock on my bike from UK time. It was always set on UK time, and I would constantly try and work out the time, depending on where I was. So if I was 4 hours ahead, 7 hours ahead, 4 hours back, that's what I did. And I would just use that to keep my brain ticking over. And things like keeping a constant record as to when I wouldn't use the trip computer, but when I filled up with fuel, what was my mileage? And then I'd be constantly working out in my head how many miles have I done, and I just use that to keep my mind ticking over.
Yeah. I used to make songs up.
Yeah,
like through India. I remember going through Gorakhpur, and then I said Gorakhpur, and then I see observation. There's a man on his bike. Gorakhpur.
I think anyone that says they don't sing in their own helmet when on the bike, they're lying. Everyone must do that. Everyone.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, I think that's what I do that. I can't remember drifting off. I mean, I think motorcycling is an engaging thing, isn't it? You should really be switched on. I think the hardest bit actually is when you're riding tired and you're actually nodding off on the bike. I think that's when you should get off and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything you can do for that other than be sensible and get off.
Yeah. Have you ever fallen asleep on a bike?
Well, no, because I'm still here. But
I did one time. I decided it would be a good idea when I finished night duty to ride up to Scotland, and I felt fine. I got on a bike, started riding, and I'm on the M6 right up near sort of Cumbria way up there, and I was in lane 2, and up ahead of me is a heavy in lane 1, and he's literally at the limit of my vision, way up ahead. And the next thing I thought, that's a long blink. I thought, my eyes are shut, open my eyes, and I'm almost in the back of the lorry. I've drifted across, and it was just like, whoa, right, time for a break. Yeah. And I literally, there was a services about 2 miles down the road, and I pulled into the services in a peeing rain, got off the bike, and I lay in the car parking spot and just fell asleep. So that was me. I had my kip. But you only need half hour sometimes, and that's you, isn't it?
Well, look at Nick Sanders. He was 15 minutes, and then he's a machine.
Jeez.
And
he's still doing it.
Yeah, so not before I've seen the chiropractor.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, is there any more? Is that we good?
There's loads more, but I think that'll do us. This is 2 hours. Well, it was about 2.5 hours. I think we've been going for now, chatting.
What's your favourite colour?
Black.
Black.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, mate. Thank you so much for coming on, Nathan. I really do appreciate this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I feel really sorry for the fact that you've got nothing better to do in your life.
Before I switch the cameras
it'd be
off,
nice to see anybody.
Go on.
Say again.
No, this is what
I was going to say. If
pass it
anybody,
over to you.
genuinely, this is a genuine statement. If anybody wants to come down and just saying, I've got the unit down in North Devon, just outside Barnsport. Nice place for riding. Whether you're coming down, just say hello, a cup of tea. That's all right. I'm not there every day, so if you come down, try and message me or something.
And how would people get in touch with you?
Can't. Facebook, well, that's right. I know not everyone has Facebook, but if you go to nathanmillward.com.
You're the one. You're the person that uses Facebook. I got you.
Yeah. It's not me. I've got to be honest. I can't multitask. I can't do Twitter and Instagram.
I don't bother with Twitter. Instagrams. I'm on Instagram a fair bit now.
I know. I've seen you.
Yeah. I never go on Facebook anymore.
Do you?
No, just because they're both linked. Like, if I post on Instagram, it posts on Facebook. But, by the time you've answered questions and comments and stuff on Instagram, you're like, God, you've got the same amount to do on Instagram, on Facebook, sorry. And it's just like...
I can't imagine a life without Facebook. Oh.
So they can contact you on Facebook, at Nathan Millward?
Yeah, right. Or Nathan Millward Bike Travel, or just email on my website, nathanmillward.com.
Cool. There'll be links down below, folks. Just if you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. If you're watching the video, look at the description. There'll be links there.
It's a cool. I'm just waiting to paint the floor. When that's done, basically, bike shed. Get your art out.
You're going to be direct competition for Dutch, are you?
Bike shed. They've got nothing on this place. You can ride your bike into the unit.
Beautiful.
You've got comfy chairs, rugs.
Dude, we will chat after this, but if the invite's there, I'm well up for coming down. Absolutely. Let's get it done.
Done.
Right.
Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Right, folks.
Oh, buy my books as well. Actually, can I just quickly plug?
Of course you can.
Just before you go. If anybody's got children out there or childish mentality, could you... I've got 500 copies of these I need to shift, and I've got to pay my bills somewhere, and because COVID's kind of scuppered my year, we all can do with a bit of money, and I don't run a Patreon account because I fear that nobody will give me anything. But I do have a book, The Amazing Adventure of Dorothy, which is my children's adaptation of my Sydney to London book, and I think it's got merit. It's kind of Enid Blyton meets motorcycles, and Dorothy's a postal buyer that one day is tasked with taking a very important parcel to the other side of the world, England. And so she sets off on this great adventure, and she meets animals, creatures, and people, and she goes on a great adventure.
And does she wear Crocs?
She does not wear Crocs.
So you can get that at your website.
Your website, yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Right.
Or hopefully
Links
Amazon wants to restock Amazon, but I have a love, as we all do, have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. Cool. Right, folks, if you want that, check out the show notes and the description, and there'll be links to everything there. Nathan, thanks so much for coming on, dude. And
it's all right. Thanks, man. I can't believe my camera's recorded.
Well, here's hoping. Otherwise, we'll have to use the Zoom stuff. So hopefully it's worked. Folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. I'll not tell you who we've got on the next one because I can't remember, but there's a few big names coming to follow in from Nathan. So folks, hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below. If you're watching the vids, give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Either way, let me know in the comments what you're thinking.
Give it a thumbs down, you wankers.
People do this. There are people out there that do thumbs down.
Cute.
Yeah, I know. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave a review. 5-star, hopefully, if you can, and don't forget to follow and subscribe. That is all of that done. Right, folks, keep on doing your thing. Look after those that you love. Get on out there, but most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha! Dude, thanks very much, man.